opportunities.
Vanakkam, namaste, namaskaram. Sawona kunjani, dames, say me wat your names, hoe gaan de mensen? Hola, konnichiwa, ni hao, what kind, away, what kind, away, hola. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big hello and hi, and a very good day and a welcome to all our racing fans in South Africa and around the world, or wherever you may be watching this live stream broadcast. I trust that you are fine, you are safe, and doing well during this very challenging time that we all find ourselves in. And on behalf of World Sports Betting, their management and staff, it's a warm welcome to the 2020 World Sports Betting panel discussion and card call. Well, it's going to be a very interesting show. First up, I must apologize for Friday. I know most of you guys that are listening in today, Sunday, tuned in on Friday, and unfortunately, we did tests, we did retests, and when it came to crunch time, which was 5:30, unfortunately, there were major technical issues, and I think the right call was made by World Sports Betting to can the show and just postpone it to Sunday, just giving the guys some time to smooth out the issues, and nothing has gone wrong. The guys have done tests, and I trust that this is coming to you with very good pictures and very good sound, because that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for perfection. And Warren Tannis, he's the co-founder of World Sports Betting, which was founded back in 2002. And over the years, it started off as an online business, and it's now increased its footprint throughout South Africa, one of the leaders in fixed odds. They've got 15 outlets around the country. And we always talk about contribution to racing. What do these corporates and bookmakers give back? Well, I can tell you, and I got it on good authority, that over the last 5 years, World Sports Betting has contributed over 30 million to horse racing. That's in their promotions, their events, and of course, their sponsorships. And watch this space. If they sign on the dotted line with something that big that's happening behind the scene, that 30 million could be doubled. So thanks to them for their support. And also want to thank you, the customer of World Sports Betting, for your loyal patronage over the years. Thank you for supporting a leading brand, an innovative brand, a brand that does their best when it comes to customer service. Thank you for your support. And if you don't have an account and you're listening to this live panel discussion of the Vodacom Durban July 2020, this is the time to open up the account. Why, you may ask? Well, if you deposit up to a maximum of 20,000 Rand, you will get that matched 100% in free bets. You heard me right. Up to 20,000 Rand, you will be matched 100%. Okay, we're here for the panel discussion, and I've got good friends on the panel discussion, but more importantly, astute horsemen and astute form studiers. First up, he's a good friend. I've known him for 20 years, and we've become very close over the last 3 years or so because of my involvement with Dylan Chinsami and his horses, and he's a big patron of the stable. He's had good horses go through his stable. Over a number of years, he's tasted success at the highest level. He is a horseman. He is an astute form studier. He is a gentleman, and I'm glad to call him a friend and a big brother. We welcome Joe Soma. Joe, good evening. Welcome.
Hello, Dees. Good evening to you and to all the viewers out there and all the punters. Thanks for that very, very kind introduction. I feel like Muhammad Ali, the way you introduced me. But just to World Sports Betting, feel very, very honored that they asked me to be part of this panel and this discussion. And I'm sure it's going to be a great show. Thanks to them.
Well, Joe, it's a pleasure having you on the show, and we thank you for your time as well. Next up is a dual South African champion jockey, winning as an apprentice and following up a year later. And let's not forget, the year later, he was short of 2 months at the beginning of the season. He was playing catch up, but he managed to get up on the line. He's since had an international experience riding in Hong Kong and Japan. He's back home where he loves riding. He's got no immediate plans of an international career. But as we know and as we expect and what we've seen of him thus far, the sky's the limit for this young boy. Things have come very early in his career, but it's not because he's just pressing buttons. He's a guy that works hard, he's committed to his job, and he's really got a bright future. I'm proud to be associated with him on a working basis as well. I've won a championship with him. He's become a true friend, and he's a younger brother. I introduce you to Lyle Hewitson. Good evening, Lyle.
Good evening, and yeah, thank you to World Sports Betting for having me on the show. Absolute privilege. I'm just grateful I can share this show with such handsome gentlemen like yourself, Joe, Hilton. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we look forward to your input as well. And then when it comes to World Sports Betting and what's going to be on offer today, there's a gentleman that they put far away from me. I'll tell you why. Last year, they had a function for their high rollers at the Oyster Box, invited guests only. And they had a gentleman called Siobhan, who's here today. He's in the background lurking somewhere. They put him next to me. And what they did was they gave me a betting sheet with the course odds and the stretches. And what happened is I had him next to me, so I had him boxed in. And I was told after the show that I messed up their book in a big way. So today they've just given me the course odds, none of the stretches, and they put a guy 2,000 kilometers away from me. So those stretches that you're going to be getting today is all going to be on a gentleman that's coming through live from Cape Town. He's World Sports Betting Regional Director, an astute form studier as well. We've been chatting from Friday. Today he knows his game, but more importantly, he knows the fixed odds betting market. Hilton Hassan, welcome.
Thank you, Dees.
How's the book looking? How's the book looking, Hilton? Has there been much action over the last few weeks or so for this year's Vodacom Durban July?
Yeah, Dees, obviously a little bit quieter than previous years, taking into account the situation, but we're hoping to lay some bets tonight. And we're going to go very aggressive with the prices, and we're going to build that field.
Well, you're definitely going to be giving us the stretches. You're going to be calling out the specials, and you're going to be telling us if there's any heat on any horses. But thus far, it's just slowly building up. You're saying the interest in this year's Vodacom Durban July punting-wise?
Yeah, definitely, Dees. Definitely. Yeah, it's obviously with the final field being announced last week, gallops on Thursday. I think obviously going forward in the next couple of days, we're really going to see some action.
Okay, guys, before we start off this year's panel discussion, we got Joe Soma and we got Lyle Hewitson. And I just want to conclude the final episode of Days of Our Lives. We're going to close it. We're going to put a lid on it. Joe Soma gave his report in the Sporting Post. He's been on other forums as well, giving through the report on what happened behind the scenes. And we appreciate that from Joe as well, being transparent with the public. But Joe, yourself and Lyle have had some good chats behind the scenes, and it's now history, and you move forward.
These, yes, none of us are bigger than the game. These things happen. Lyle is obviously a young chap with a great future. He's always been very much a gentleman to me. He's always had my best interests at heart. And there comes a time where we all got to understand that, the Sean Terry stable has been very good to him, gave him the breaks. And in the situation he found himself in, I just felt that to hold him back and start having aggravation and bad vibes from his side or from my side, not worth it. I've always been one who believes that horse racing is a great sport, and we have to also act like sportsmen at some given time in our lives. So everything's sorted itself out. We're all great friends. I had spoken to Sean Terry. Him and I go back a long time as well. We were very fortunate to get Muzi Yeni in place of Lyle. But from my side, there's no hard feelings at all. And it would be an honor and a privilege at any given time to give Lyle rides. And I wish him very, very well in the future.
Fantastic. And Lyle, you've been involved in this whole situation behind the scenes. You've read the report. You've spoken to Joe. You've heard what he had to say now. Just your finality on the whole matter.
Yes, well, look, we obviously all know the situation, and I'm just glad that it's worked out amicably. But more importantly, the fact that I could deal with this with such a gentleman like Mr. Soma. And I just thank him for the understanding. And I'm sure in future I can ride many winners to make up for it, hopefully.
Lyle, you at the bottom of the screen, Joey is on the top. So I just want you to lift your right hand up just towards your head. And Joe, if you can hold your head to the top and just put it down, and then we just have a handshake there. Joe, your right hand, please. Yeah, just get it down. Yeah, fantastic. Hey, well done, boys. Well done, fantastic.
Lovely,
okay,
lovely.
Well done, guys. Well done, guys. That is Days of Our Life. No continuation. It was the final episode, done and dusted. Okay, gentlemen, I think I'm going to start with you, Joe. Just your overall take on this year's Vodacom Durban July, the 80s horses that go to post. You know, just when they announced the final field with the draws, etc. How was your feeling about this year's quality?
Deez, I think it's a very, very strong July. There's a lot of chaps out there that feel that the 3-year-olds haven't really come to the party yet. But in saying that, that's what they've said every single year for the last, I don't know however long I've been in the game, you know. There are real champions in this year's July. You take a horse like Rain, Do It Again, let's start with him. For a horse to be going for 3 Julys, it's history in the making, top jockey, top trainer, top owners. So that's number one. We've got a fantastic champion in the form of Rainbow Bridge, which he's done nothing wrong. He's been a consistent horse throughout his career. And to have horses like this competing in a July against the younger brigade, Got the Green Light, Shango, and whoever else. We've got a young up-and-coming horse that has been looked after, Bulgarian. So for me, a very, very strong field. Very, very interesting about the race myself. I find that a lot of horses are drawn on the inside and a lot of good horses are drawn on the outside. But the key to the race is that there's space from both sides. There's space on the inside and there's space on the outside. So for me, if they can have 18 E-Division horses in a July, it's always going to create great interest. It's always going to be a great race. But I think we're very, very fortunate to be witnessing the July. And then once again, just like to thank Gold Circle and obviously Vodacom, considering where the world is at the moment, to actually be, that we actually stage in the race is just a positive and a fantastic achievement on their side.
We'll keep you on the screen, Joe, but bring Lyle in. Lyle, just, amongst the jockeys that are riding in this year's race, you spend a lot of time with them in the mornings at track work, of course, in the jockey room as well. What's the general buzz amongst the guys that are riding in this year's race?
Well, what I've really enjoyed is that there seems to be a sort of confidence from each individual, which I think just shows the competitiveness of the July. Everybody's really looking forward to it, positive about the mounts. I think the gallops showcase that, the well-being of the horses. And I think that's just the right sort of attitude that we must go into the July with. And we're all looking forward to it. It's going to be a great race.
Okay, fantastic. We'll keep you two guys on the screen before bringing Hilton in. We're going to go to the bottom of the betting and we're going to move our way to the top. As I mentioned, I've got the course odds in front of me. I have no privy to what's going to be offered today. That's in Hilton's hands. But what we're going to try to do, Joe and Lyle, is that for every horse in this year's Vodacom Durban July, there is going to be somebody out there that's looking for some type of positive to just nudge them in having a bet. So we're going to try as much as possible to give the positives of the horses, but then again, we are going to be giving the negatives as well. And we'll begin with what is the biggest outsider in the field, guys, and that's going to be Campharatus. Last year, Campharatus, we know that she was a reserve runner. She got into the race. She ran a very good race. Joe, we'll begin with you. Robbie Hill had a fantastic winner today, winning the Oaks with a big outsider. So showing that he's stable as well.
Yes, you want to, you're going into a July or any big race for that matter, you'd like to see your string coming to the fore, coming back to form. And you always got a chance when even a 55-1 or 60-1 shot like today from the stable arrives. gives you confidence. There's a good vibe amongst the grooms, amongst the trainer, the assistant trainers, the farrier. So she's definitely, the stables in form is a plus. She must have every horse has got a chance. Whether we like it or don't like it. As you said, let's look at the positives. Last year, she was running on nicely. She only finished just over 2.5 lengths behind. Do It Again. I think there's a half a kilo. She's plus a half a kilo better off, I think, with Rainbow Bridge this year. The pace of the race was a little bit slower last year, which I think is going to be a lot faster this year. So it's definitely a positive from her side. She should be finishing off nicely. And all those once-a-year punters out there that love a filly with a white face, I think she's got 4 white socks. She's quite a pretty filly. Might be the one that they're looking for. And I'm sure World Sports Betting will be giving us a fantastic price. Definitely, maybe in the first 5, if they've laid first 5 places or whatever else, could be a fantastic value.
Lyle, at Campharatus, I know you've been running around Sommerfeld. Have you seen in the mornings? Have you been around that stable?
Yes, I've in fact galloped Campharatus up into this in the preparation. She's a lovely moving elastic filly. As we mentioned, she ran a credible race last year, and she can travel. So a better tempo of the race is definitely going to be in her favor, and it does look difficult for her, but she can improve and she can run a good race once again. So look, she's the type of horse that would be a massive upset, but like you said, we saw today Moon in June cause a big upset, and I'm sure Robbie Hill and his team will be hoping for the same.
Okay, Hilton, we're going to bring you in because the course odds at the moment is 70-1, and there will be guys that love backing these big prize horses, for a minimum spend to try and get the big cash if she arrives. For a win, what you going to stretch that to?
These, I think, the format we're going to do, we're going to make it very short and sweet. So you're going to give the course price, and then I will give a inflated price. We'll leave that price up for a minute. After a minute, we'll then drop it down another amended price, and then another minute for that, and then we'll move on to the next horse. All right.
So you're saying, let's get this straight. You're saying that the price that you're going to be giving for 1 minute, correct, is that any amount that can be traded on that horse over a minute?
Correct. First come, first serve, whatever price they want.
And then once that minute is over, you're going to go to the next inflated price, and that's for another correct minute as well.
That's it.
Okay, and the guys, obviously, they got the internet and the site to have these bets on, but can they also phone in?
Yeah, these they can, but we would recommend, obviously, because there's only a minute, try and avoid going to the call center. Get online, have your bets, takes a couple of seconds, and let's get it done.
Do you have the call center number for somebody that wants to phone in?
Yeah, it's 0860 103393.
Repeat that, please, Hilton, for the boys.
0860 103393.
And then everything is on the website as we speak now. It's loaded. Correct. And the guys can fire.
As soon as I give the go-ahead, that price is going to go up.
Okay, let's go with the first horse. What's the price? 70-1, the course horse.
Right, these camp riders are going to kick off at 150-1.
Whoa! And I thought I was being good last year. I would have given about 100, 120-1. This is double the odds. 150-1. 1 minute, as much as you want. Boys, you better look sharp. It's minute. It's 60 seconds. Then from 150-1, what do you think it'll shorten to for the next minute, Hilton?
Probably 125, please.
125. So if you're missing the first minute, well, you got the second minute to try and get on at 125-1. And then do you have an inflated price for fixed places, or it's on the site?
Yeah, the places will be on the site. Places will probably be inflated. We'll have an odd horse that we inflate. But right now, everything's on the site under the exotics. Places Durban, July, we've got places on 3, 4, 5, and 6 places.
Well, Hilton, all I'm going to say, they got the right man for the job down in Cape Town, because you've doubled those odds plus 10. Well done with that. 151, guys. 2 minutes up, and let's go. Hilton is cracking that whip. Okay, Campharatus, we are done and dusted. I'm scratching it off. That's over. Tell me when the minute... Well, we've actually got a timer here as well. And I can tell you that the timer is going down, 49 seconds. And Graham is the guy that's in charge of the timer. Next up, we're going to go to Divine Odyssey. And I think we'll start with you here, Lyle. Divine Odyssey is an individual that you know from Gauteng, of course, securing his place in this year's Vodacom Durban July, winning the Jubilee Handicap. He did take a long time, to win again. But prior to that, his form was good.
Yes, he seems the type of individual, despite his quirks and that, he seems to pop up in these big races and run his best runs when it's needed most. So he's definitely a lurker in the fact that he will probably enjoy a good pace too. No crowds will suit him, keep him relaxed and quiet. And like I said, he just seems to bring his A game when it's most important. So yeah, he's another one. Could go off at long odds, could surprise. You got a nice low galloping mass. There are positives to him.
Okay, Divine Odyssey, Joe, a horse that you're very familiar with up in Gauteng. I'm sure you've seen him race maybe his entire career.
He's a kind of horse that every owner would love to own. If you look at his form in the computer form, he's very, very consistent. His worst run was after the lay of 4 3/4 lengths to Jet Start. But before that, just behind, I think, Camperatus last year's July, also running on quite strongly as well. Also half a kilo better off with Rainbow Bridge. For me, if the pace is on, he's a type of horse that could sneak into the first 5. Top trainer, he knows what he's doing, and Stewie Randolph knows Gravel like the back of his hand. So for my money, it could be value for the first 5 kind of place bet. The type of horse that could sneak into a quartet and make it pay big money as well.
Joe, I'm glad that you mentioned Stuart Randolph, because it is a massive positive to have the services of a jockey that has been there and done that, and he's done it for Dean Canamere on Power King. Yeah,
he's got the experience as well. He's very adaptable. He knows where to place him, what it takes to win a July. But just going back to the horse itself, he's met the Worms, he's met Socrates, he's not far behind them. As I say, Johan's done a fantastic job with this horse. He's kept him very, very consistent throughout his career, and he deserves his place in the July. I make him a nice outsider to make a quartet pay big money, and definitely, I don't know what Hilton will give, but I'll be looking at maybe first 5 in the places, something like that. There could be good value. Well,
there's some nice positive comments coming through from this horse as well. So in the camp of Divine Odyssey, that's what we're asking the guys there. We're trying to promote the turnover if you are interested in a horse. We'll give you the negatives as well, as I mentioned. But this horse, Divine Odyssey, one thing I must tell you, I didn't know how quick there's 2 minutes go by. So you better look sharp, because we got a timer here. And while the guys were speaking, especially after we had Lyle and then Joe, the 2 minutes was up. I'm going to try and call it, but not to interrupt the guy when it's up, and just maybe give you 30 seconds or so. So if you're missing out and you're thinking about the bet, there's no time to think here, guys. You've made up your mind. This is a card call where you're going to get that stretched odds, but you have to look sharp. Okay, Divine Odyssey, horse number 10. Take it away, Hilton.
Horse price currently 55, please.
55, yes. The course odds is 55, 100%.
We're going to kick off at 80 to 1.
80 to 1, your 2
Correct.
minutes starts now. 80 to 1, your 2 minutes starts now, and the timer has been pressed. Okay, next we're going to go to It's My Turn. Now, he was an Equus champion stayer back in 2017 and 2018. And of course, for some reason or the other, we didn't see him race as a 6-year-old. He just had the 2 barrier trials. This type of preparation, I would call it a rush preparation, Lyle, because he had that one run the other day, which is in the track and ball derby. He showed his well-being. It was a fair run. A horse that's not short of ability, but obviously has his issues.
Yes, I think you made a fair comment saying the prep could be rushed, but with saying that, it's 3rd run after his rest. He's come good at the right time, and as we've mentioned, we are expecting an honest gallop in the July, and a horse that stays well will be finishing well. So in his favor is the fact that he definitely gets the trip and much more. So the harder they go, the better for him. And once again, lightweight, Sean Veal also knows Gravel at the back of his hand. He's done well with.
Okay, thanks to Lyle. We'll get him back. Joe, when we speak about a horse like this, just from a trainer's perspective, obviously Dean and the connections Mr. Krabia would have thought about, let's persevere with this horse. He must have had his issues, but he's obviously a horse that they hold in high regard for them to have been patient with him and bring him back to the track.
Yeah, his track record proves it. He was a very, very good horse. I think he was one of the contenders for Champion Stayer of the Year at one stage. There was an outcry, I think it was 2 years ago, why he never got into the July when he was winning all those staying races. So the horse that definitely oozes ability. In a July, to me, he represents a horse like Cram Bambuli. People always thought that not quite the horse that is classy enough to win a July, but a horse that stays 2 miles, he'll be staying on in the end of the race when a lot of horses could be tiring. So top trainer, he's going to have the best, the man knows what he's doing, he's going to have the best preparation. And if he stays sound, I think that he's also a horse that could be staying on in the finish more than anything else. But definitely a horse to watch for the up-and-coming Gold Cup. I think that'll be his main mission as well.
I think the best that I got out of that, Joe, was when you said top trainer, because it takes a serious horseman to win 3 Vodacom Durban Julys, and Dean has done just that. Power King, Eye of the Tiger, the Mighty Dynasty. So he knows how to get a horse ready for this type of race. So whilst he's not had the ideal prep, if you're going to follow a trainer that certainly knows what type of horse it takes to win this race, he wouldn't just be throwing him in the deep end here if he didn't think he had a chance. So Dean Kannemeyer, we wish him and Mr. Krabia well here with number 12, It's My Turn. Hilton, It's My Turn is the course odds 45-1. What can you tell us?
Yes, there's been a bit of money for this horse, funny enough. Everybody sort of saw the run last week and thought, okay, maybe he is coming back to his best. It's very hard to come back from retirement to win the July, you know that. So there's been a bit of money. We're obviously not convinced, so we're going to kick off at 75-1.
75-1. When was this money? After that run in the Track and Ball Derby, what did he shorten in from, Hilton?
Pretty much. He was at 66 before the Derby, and he shortened into 40. Stripped it out slightly to 45, and then since the final field, 45-50, a little bit of money into 40. We're going to kick off at 75.
75-1. It's My Turn. 3 Vodacom Durban Julys for trainer Dean Kannemeyer. Lyle, apologies, we lost you for a second there. You got anything to add because you got cut off?
No, sorry about that with the connection issue. I hope it's all sorted. But listening to you guys, I think you hit the nail on the head. Mr. Soma had good points that he pointed out to us. And yeah, I agree with the comments.
Okay, we haven't started the countdown yet. I'm going to do it. It's my turn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 70-1 for 1 minute. And then the extra minute, what do you think that will go down to, Hilton?
We'll move down to 60-60s.
66. Okay, It's My Turn. We're done with him. Next up is Terra Del Fuego from the Sean Terry stable. Another yard, 2 Vodacom Durban Julys, Pomodoro and Heavy Metal. Sean's had another wonderful season like he always does. And the gentleman that's back from his international campaign in Hong Kong and Japan, who's now writing a lot of work for Sean, especially taking care of his KZN string. He knows these horses best from the stable. So I think we'll start off with you, Lyle. Terra Del Fuego. The first question, when you discuss Sean's horses for this year's Vodacom Durban July, were you given a choice where you asked which horse you'd like to ride?
Look, he's not the easiest horse to just get on and get along with straight away. And Gavin's done well with him of recent. And I think there was not much between the two. So in a team decision, it made sense with me being able to ride lighter. So yeah, it was 50-50 toss up for me on who I would choose if I had to. But as a team decision, it makes sense, and Gavin knows him well. So yeah, that's how that ended up.
A horse that's run, I'm not going to say close up, but he's been there or thereabouts behind a horse that's now on an international campaign in Awam. So the ability is certainly there.
Yes, it is. He's a nice individual. He stepped up to the 10 furlongs for the first time last time. Of course, being a prep, they needed to make sure that he settled and did everything the right way. And we saw him gaining at the finish, which I thought was really promising. One thing I can tell you, he's always the last horse to pull up, and he just keeps going. So I think he will get the distance. Demeanor is going to be a big thing, but pace in the race will be what he needs. If he settles, he could be a serious lurker. He's got a good weight. Top jockey, ran second last year in Gavin Arena. He'll be hungry to get there. And owner-trainer combination, know what it takes to win in July. So, yeah, he's really a little dark horse in the race. He's unexposed over this trip. I don't know what to make of him. He could be anything here.
I'm just going to stick with you, Lyle, because as I mentioned, your association with the stable, you've been working the horses since you've come down from the 1st of July. This horse, Terra del Fuego, we'll get to Shango when his name comes up, but this horse, Terra del Fuego, how long has he been in the province, and how's he taking the trip down to KZN, and how's he doing in the mornings?
So Terra's not here currently. He's going to get down later in the week, but I know him from Joburg. As I mentioned, after a race, he's the last one to pull up. His work is the same. So I think he's got good lung capacity. He's a nice, strong horse, big striding. And like I say, if demeanor and everything goes well in the race, he could really surprise. And yeah, he's doing well. The team back home, I'm sure they're doing a great job. And as I mentioned, he does have the ability. He's unexposed. He was running on, closing the gap to Sokrat, who's a top individual. Anything here, Dees.
Fantastic. Joe, let's get to you now. Before we even touch on this horse, a point made by Lyle that this horse is being prepped up in Gauteng. That's the route Sean has gone with this individual. And you are doing the same with your horse, got the green light. Was there any planning or thinking behind keeping your horse in Gauteng, like the way Sean has kept this horse, Terra del Fuego, there and bringing him down just for the race? Do you have a viewpoint on that, on bringing your horse down a week before, 2 weeks before, 2 days before, prepping him in Joburg, the negatives and the positives for our viewers?
I think it all depends on the individual, being the horse itself. I think the trainer knows his own horse, what he feels would be best for a horse like Terra del Fuego. Sean Terry is a champion trainer, a multiple champion trainer. The man knows what he's doing. He's raided successfully, and he's, won July's with horses being down there for the season. I think that what I picked up from Lyle, saying that he's a bit of a difficult customer, he can be a bit headstrong. You've got to understand, I would think, I'm just thinking for what you've asked me, is that Summerfeld's can be a very awkward situation for a horse. There's downhills where you go and work, there's uphills, this way, that way. Some horses settle there, some horses don't take to it. You're going for a big race, so you're trying to get the horse as comfortable as he can be and give him the best prep possible for going into a July. And that was a decision that I made with Got the Green Light. When I went to go look at Summerfeld and the tracks and everything else, while we were down there for the daily news, I made the decision, let me rather bring him back to his home base. He knows the tracks there, and in case anything goes wrong at Summerfeld, you don't want that happening going into a July. So that is probably the reason why Sean went the route that he has. I think this horse, there's a lot of positives. He ticks a lot of boxes, this horse. He's gone over the ground once at 10 furlong at Turfentine behind a warm. Like Lyle mentioned, he was only, I think, a length or so, a length and a half off Sukrat. There is, I think, about 3 kilos in his favor, somewhere around there. If he stays, which another positive is that Lyle keeps on mentioning, at the end of the race, in the pull-up area, is the last one to get pulled up. Means that he's probably got the stamina to go further. Sean's very, very astute as well. He'll type of bloke who can keep a horse over 1,600 meters for 2 years and then suddenly pounce. The man's a magician when it comes to big races, and I think that he's massive, massive value at whatever price he is. I've seen the third biggest outsider in the race. I think the World Sports Betting Lines are going to start lighting up on this horse here. It'll be very, very interesting to hear what price they're offering and what price they're offering to the punters out there. But I think there's a few blokes. I know Dave Mollett is tipping this horse. And I know he'll probably be on the line waiting to pounce.
Okay, Lyle, sold to you. Thumbs up. Joey, sold to you. Thumbs up.
Definitely a runner.
You got a thumbs up. You got a thumbs up for a horse at the bottom of the betting bowl. We're trying to sell this to you if you were sitting around and waiting for comments to come through for your fancy. And this horse, Terra del Fuego, is 40 to 1 now. Hilton, I don't want you to chicken out on this. Please don't do so after those comments. Keep to the script that you have there on what odds you are going to give this a stretch, because the course odds 40 to 1. So I don't want you taking off 5 points or 10 points from that after those comments. Please, Hilton, we want you to stick to what you had in mind. So 40 to 1 Terra del Fuego, what you offering the boys for the next minute?
These, I think everybody will be happy to know that we're going to be offering 60 to 1 for the next minute.
60 to 1, that's 20 points
Indeed.
above. 62 to 1 for the next minute, and then you'll drop that to 55?
We were going to do 50, but we'll do 55, please.
55. I'm trying.
Right.
2,000.
You've started already.
We're trying for the most. Okay. Terra del Fuego, Terry and Larina. You got 60 to 1 for the next minute, and we'll give you 55 to 1 if you missed out on that minute. Okay, Terra del Fuego is out. Then we next come to one of 5 runners from this Dustin Snade stable, and she is the second filly we're going to talk on, and that's Silvano's Pride. Sereno Mudley has picked up the ride, and she is a hard-knocking, strong front runner, as she showed in the Tibishina Stakes last time out. Of course, she's gone through to win the Will Avington as well as a 3-year-old. Sereno Mudley had a wonderful afternoon. He had 2 winners today. He's getting chances from different stables, and really nice to see the lesser-known guys get chances in the Vodacom Durban July. Of course, most of this is brought on because of the travel restrictions that jockeys have from other provinces. They were allowed 1 move in the beginning of July, and wherever you're going to be riding for that month, that is where you will be riding for the rest of July. So the guys that decided to stay in Cape Town or Gauteng, they weren't allowed to come up whether this was a feature race meeting or not, just giving the other guys a chance to ride in Africa's premier horse racing events. Really nice for Sereno as well. Silvano's Pride, let's begin with you, Joey. And the one thing I want to speak about is that when we got a front runner like this in the race, is the draw significant from that barrier position? Will they change tactics, or she only knows one way, and that's to go and race up handy?
I'm glad you've brought up the draw. I had a good look at the July. Since they've narrowed the track and when they put it up the poly track, they've cut the field down to 18 horses. It's a whole new race course altogether. You know, you can only go onto the July from the time that I think the first running was in 2014, where they had 18 runners and narrowed the track. The draws have come from all over, basically. High draws have won, middle draws have won, inside draws have won. So draw is, for me, is null and void to me. I really don't believe it makes a massive difference. This filly, very, very consistent, a big heart as well. It's going to be difficult for a filly to go to the front against these horses, but she's got a low weight. You've got a jockey on that's in form. It comes from a top stable as well. Could be her best chance is, I don't know if you watched the Epsom Derby last 2 weeks ago. Was went to the front, the stable companion. Sure. Went to go make the pace for the so-called hotties in the race. And before they blinked, the horse had skipped clear and ended up holding on and winning at a big price. To me, she fits that kind of bill. And if you're looking for something with a big heart that's going to give you a run and get excited at a big price game, she'd probably still be in front going past the 300, this filly. So definitely one that could get your heart rate up and throw and say you got a chance coming into the straight. It's going to be difficult though.
It's going to be difficult. Lyle, I just want to touch on today's meeting. We've had a few races on the turf. I know that Moon in June came from last and of course won well from the back of the field, but the way Running Brave won today, if you got a horse that's a galloper in front, Could this be, something for punters to take into account the way she raced today that could happen in a few days' time on Vodacom Durban July Day? Horses racing up handy and they could stay there?
Of course, Dees. Today there was, I think the track's in good condition. I don't think it was down to the track. Today there was a tailwind, running brave, was brave up front and kept going. But whether there's tailwind or headwind, the correct ride from the front can get you away. If you pinch 3 lengths into a headwind, those horses got to make up ground into a headwind. If you got the tailwind behind you, it's helping you get along. So the correct ride will get you away no matter what the wind factor is. So yeah, I'm ecstatic for Sereno. I think he's a fastly improving rider and deserves his opportunity here. She's got a low mass, and I agree, it is difficult for a filly to outgallop the boys. But if Queen Supreme was running in this July, she would be a massive runner. And at level weight, Sylvana's Pride was 3 lengths behind. 2.6 lengths behind. So I think that throws a little bit of a curveball and shows that she can pull it out the hat. And I think that she's probably one, as Mr. Soma said, get your heart racing. Will be hanging in tough with the low mass. Probably one for the bigger quartets.
Okay, Sylvano's Pride, Hilton, take it away. The course odds 35-1.
Yeah, these we're going to offer 75-1 for a minute, and then we're going to go down to 66-1 for minute number 2.
That is double the odds. You got a minute at 70-1, Sylvano's Pride. We're going to move along and we're going to try and speed things up. The guys are waiting patiently for the horses at the top of the betting boards, I'm told, by Rhino, who is the marketing head of World Sports Betting. He says, "These, try and speed it up. I got my high rollers that are waiting for the top of the boards." Okay, Capiero, a good win the other day, qualifying him for the race. Joe, comment on him?
Capiero coming into the race with a positive win behind it. You've got to remember this horse ran 3rd. I know it was about 6 lengths behind the Warm, but in front of him, 4 lengths in front of him was Twist of Fate. Lovely galloping weight. Jockey that's also come to the fore in the last couple of months, Tristan Godden. Also a good stable. He's got a squeak of a chance, these. Squeak of a chance.
Squeak of a chance, Capiero. Comment on him, Lyle?
Well, Mr. Soma mentioned earlier that a horse reminds him of Cram Bambuli, and I think for me, this is the one that's gone under the radar and snuck into the July. Nice opportunity for Tristan Godden. As I mentioned, under the radar, and I probably don't know much about this horse, not having taken him on, but it was a fluent win last time. Nexus ran is a nice horse. So, yeah, I think it's a difficult task, but under the radar, who knows?
Capiero, the course odds 33-1. Hilton, what you guys going to offer there?
70-1, these.
70-1, more than double the odds for Capiero. 70-1 for a minute, and then you'll get a shortened odds from there for Capiero. We move along now to Pedro Payo from the Dennis Bosch stable, a horse that's really come well at his last 2 starts, showing his hand in the Guineas and the Daily News. And let's start with you, Lyle. This horse, from my side, he's actually surprised me, and you have won on him in the past. In fact, he helped you win the jockey's title towards the end of last season. That's
correct, Dees. Mr. Bosch from day one has rated this horse, and now that trust in this horse is showing fruition now. Very strong galloper. He's the pace angle in the race as well, and it's one of those that just keeps on going. So definitely another lurker in the pack, probably one to include.
A front runner, Joe, and he's really shown a lot of heart, a lot of guts, the way he's been staying on, especially that last start in the Daily News. He did it the hard way up front. You always had to go and fetch him, but he was still fighting at the business end of the race. You must have watched that replay a few times.
Yeah, he actually impressed me very, very much. I got down to Durban for the Daily News, and everyone was shouting from the rooftops, Golden Ducat. And funny enough, when I was standing in the parade ring looking, I actually got confused. I saw this horse and I looked at the number and I said, is that Golden Ducat? Even though the one was a chestnut and the other one's a dark bay. One of the most beautiful horses that I've seen in a long, long time. He's a beautiful specimen. as Lal pointed out, Dennis Bosch has had faith in this horse from day one. He lost it a little bit early on as a 3-year-old. Things went wrong in Cape Town. But in saying that, he went to the front in the Daily News and he set up very, very good tempo. You know, he was at one stage, he was nearly 6 lengths clear of the rest of the field. I thought he was going to die a lot quicker. Even though when he got to green light, moved up to him, I thought he'll get past him easier. When he did go past him, I was quite surprised that he fought on to hold on for second and hold Golden Ducat at bay. I think he's got a big chance also. He's the type of horse that maybe doesn't go to the front. Maybe he'll sit in second, third if the pace is on, and the race could be run to suit him. If he gets away at the right time, I think he's a massive, massive runner, and I'm actually quite confident that he'll end up in the first 4, this horse.
Okay, some positive comments coming through from both Lyle and Joe about Padre Pio. Joe actually mentioned he could be the horse staying on for the top 4 position. He's 30-1 in the betting, 30-1 Padre Pio. Hilton, what can you tell us?
He's not too much interest at the moment, but we are going to go almost double the odds again. We're going to go 55-1.
55-1 for Pedro Pio, 55-1 for him. And you got a minute to get your bets on there. Really nice for Dennis Bosch to get a runner in this year's Vodacom Durban July as well. Now, Miyabi Goal is up next, another Snake runner, a talented filly, Joe. You know, she is a horse that just keeps surprising me the way she races, and on a day, very capable as well.
Yeah, she ran in last year's July as well. Fits, I think, the same bill as Camparatus and Divine Odyssey. There wasn't more than a head between the 3 of them at last year's July. She's obviously a year stronger. She's got a chance, also coming off a very good win her last start. She was very impressive in the win. Her confidence could be at a high. Also got a chance, but one that I think also maybe the first 4, first 5, look for some places. I think Justin Snaith stable have got stronger horses than her in the race.
Okay, that is the horse that we're talking about, which is none other than Pedro Pio, and then we're going on to Miyabi Goal as well. Hilton, just take it away, and please just give us some specials there, Hilton, along with the inflated price for Miyabi Goal.
Yeah, of course, these. Miyabi Gold, we're going to be offering 50-1, and then coming into 45-1. And before we get to the sort of the top half of the field, we've also got a lot of specials that we offer every year. You know, the winning sex of the horse, winning trainer, age of the winner, winning margins, match plays. We've also got a double for Lal on Caroluma and Golden Bell. You can get 11.5-1 for that. I don't know if you are there, Lal. You're quite interested.
Yeah, I'm excited that you got a special on me, and I hope I can add some interest into that. The guys can have some confidence in me. Hopefully, I can bring it home. A double on July Day. It's a pleasure for anyone. I must say they're both lovely fillies. Caroluma, she's a beautiful upcoming individual, and you know, the second half of it, Golden Bell, that win last time was super impressive. So maybe a little bit of value with a special double bet like that.
Can I just come in here, Hilton? I was going to just say that for me, Caroluma is a top filly. If she does win, all of a sudden you've got 11.5-1 Golden Bell, which is massive odds at that stage of the games, because she won a very, very good race the last time, Golden Bell. So that's massive, massive value at that price. Yes,
I can agree with you, Mr. Soma. And you know, last year I went into this 2-year-old 1400 race, the Colton Goldings version with Eden Rock, and pretty much in the same situation. Was the talking horse, the big one on the day in these juvenile races, and he came home. So I'm really holding thumbs. I can do the same with Caroluma, and then you've got value on Golden Bell.
Yeah, I remember last year was they talk about carrying the hopes of South Africa. Eden Rock was that horse. I think the whole world, a lot of us bankered him, and I think this is going to be the same case, same scenario this year alongside Caroluma, but she was very impressive. I was fortunate enough to be at the course that day. Just to let the punters know, don't be put off the way she goes down, because she never went down great the last time on the poly track, but she definitely came back completely different filly. So if you're having a bet on her, don't be put off on the way she goes down.
Guys, have I
100%.
missed anything? I'm back. Have I missed anything? Joe, Lyle, have I missed anything?
We've missed you, Deez. That's the only thing that's happened.
Oh, apologies, guys, but we've sorted it out here. But thanks for holding the fort then. What were we talking about there, Joe, with Lyle?
We were just chatting. Hilton gave a special on Lyle, a Lyle double on Vodacom July Day, being Caroluma in the 5th and Golden Bell in the, I think it's a 9th, at 11.5 to 1. So we were just chatting what massive value that is. And once again, World Sports Betting to the 4. Time, I think on race day, that same double will end up working out to about 6 to 1, at best 6 to 1, 6.5 to 1. Massive value.
Not after this show. Listen to me. Not after this show. You don't understand the high rollers that these boys have in their pockets. I've seen it. Do you know in that minute that we give in how much could be traded at World Sports Betting, Joe? I'll just give you, just take a guess.
I say around about 200 grand.
200,000 Rand will be traded. I will tell you now that you may be 5 times less. About 5 times less. I promise you, I was there last year. These boys got some hard hitters, big boys. That's why they're only giving a minute, Joe. If they give 5 minutes, they could be out on one horse.
World Sports Betting can never go out, brother. As long as there's a tennis involved, there's no way sports betting can go out.
So were you surprised when I gave that figure at the top of the show that already over the last 5 years, these guys have contributed 30 bar towards racing with their sponsorship and involvement? Did that surprise you?
Deez, I must be honest with you, it never surprised me, but I actually forgotten how great World Sports Betting has been to the racing industry. You actually think about how they came to the fore with the heritage handicap, with all the different races that they sponsor, what they've done for horse racing, what the promotions that they do for horse racing. And they actually deserve all the credit and exposure that anyone can give them. They've been absolute soldiers. And I promise you, just from my own side, I thank them from the bottom of my heart for, especially where we find our local industry at the moment. They deserve all the accolades that any person can give them. Well done, chaps.
Okay, Hilton, we are over with Miyabi Gold, huh? Is that done?
That's correct.
Okay, let's go on to Twist of Fate. Now, this is the mount of Aldo de Meyer, and I had a chat to him today off and on air about his ride for Adam Marcus. Now, this horse, he showed serious potential when he started off his career. He carried that race potential amongst the best of his generation. And he recently joined the Adam Marcus stable. Lyle, I think I'll begin with you here. He's a horse that, I hate saying this, but certain horses, they're good, but they're just behind the best.
Yes, he's laden with ability, as you mentioned. I think he's a nice horse. And for me, the biggest positive is watching his gallop come into the July. I think that to me showed that he had turned the corner, coming back to his best form. And he's another horse. He can be placed really close to the speed, maybe just behind him. Versatility, which is vital for July.
If you look at some of his better form, I know he's run close up to a Awam. He's run well in this race as well. That was last year. If you look at his form this year, Joe, is he still the same horse that he used to be? Or do you see him a horse that's just been there or thereabout and needs to recapture his best in order to feature?
He's only a 4-year-old. He's been a super horse. He cost the owners, I see, 20,000 Rand only. He's earned in excess of over 3.3 million. Got to be respected. Got a top jockey on. He's got the blinkers back on, which I remember Joey Ramsden last year put the blinkers on in the July. It was in the July. And he ran third last year, 1.75 behind Do It Again.
Sure.
In that race, you've got to remember, Rainbow Bridge was only a length and a half in front of him. He's better off at the weights. It's actually 2 kilos worse off at the weight. Sorry, I'll just clear that up. And then in the Met itself, he finished 3.75 behind Rainbow Bridge, but he's 3.5 kilos better off in the weights for the Met. It's not far behind the favorite for the July. If things go his way as well, like Lyle said, he can be placed anywhere. The pace will be on. He'll probably be sitting third, fourth, fifth, somewhere around there. No, this horse has got a chance. He looked a little bit big the last time when I saw him at the Gold Challenge, and I think that Adam would have, got him spot on for the July. And I was quite impressed with his gallop against Vardy at Summerveld when I saw it. So for my money, I think he has another horse that's definitely got a chance. If you like Rainbow Bridge, those kind of horses, Vardy, you've got to bring him into the race of these weights as well.
Simple question for Lyle and Joe. I just want the answer. Which horse would it be? From Adam Marcus stable, Lyle, Joe, Vardy, Twist of Fate. Which one you prefer? Joe?
Twist of Fate.
Lyle?
Put my neck on the block, Twist of Fate.
Twist of Fate, ahead of the stable companion Vardy. And let me tell you this, Twist of Fate, course horse, 18-1, Vardy, 7-1. So there you have it, boys. If you like one of the Adam Marcus runners and you were on the fence, umming and ahhing on which one it could be, you got the green light from Joey and from Lyle, Twist of Fate. Okay, 18-1, the course horse, Hilton. How are you going to help the boys here? How are you going to help the boys? 18-1, can you double that?
Close enough, Dees. We were going to go 25, but taking the confidence of Lyle and Joey, we're going to push it out to 30-1.
That's I like that.
Let the punters get there.
Joe and I like this horse. We'll give them an extra 5 points. Well done, Hilton. Well done, your beauty, man. Well done, Hilton. Okay, that's it.
One thing I can say, Lyle and I backed the horse from 18-1 to 30-1.
Only you can do that. I presume that was Hello Happiness the other day, Joe.
Correct.
Okay, you got a minute on Twist of Fate at those odds. And now let's go to a riderless horse in the race. Golden Ducat is his name. Eric Sands has got 2 runners in the race. They've drawn 1 and 2. I'm going to start with you here, Lyle, because you in the jockey room, you chatting to the guys, everyone must be, having a viewpoint on who's going to ride this horse. There's nothing declared as yet, or else I don't have anything as yet on who's going to be riding this horse, Golden Ducat. What's the vibe amongst all you boys in the jockey room?
I really don't know which way it's going jockey-wise. There's a few options here and there, and talk of what's going to happen, but it's all up in the air. And I think he's a big, imposing horse, and you need somebody who's going to be able to get on well with him. And I think it's going to be a vital role in his performances. Who gets aboard?
Sad for the horse, Lyle, because here's a horse that was rumored as possibly very hard to beat in the Daily News. He ran his heart out there. It was a good run as well. And he's now had 2 tries at Greyville. He's the winner of the Cape Derby, one of the premier races in the country. And there's a blank next to his name when it comes to the jockey.
Yes, look, it's sad, but you know what? Every jockey is a professional for a reason, and whoever gets onto him at last minute will be giving their best. And I think a smart horse like this, if they can get into rhythm with him and really got a good understanding of how he runs, he could really produce a great performance for somebody.
You've had a look at his 2 runs, Lyle. They've been good performances. He's a horse that one could say has had a very good prep coming into this race.
Fantastic prep. I think they've done a great job with him. His form is strong and consistent, which is vital. Last time out, I personally don't think things went well for him in the race. There were just a lot of negatives in running that could have been nullified. And I think for him to still put up a good performance shows the quality individual that he is. So once again, he's the type of horse for me that the right demeanor in running, he can have big claims if things go his way.
Okay, Lyle, couldn't help us there with regards to which jockey up, but there are a few names that have been thrown in the hat. We eagerly anticipate the jockey on Golden Ducat. Now, he's the younger brother to a horse that's top of the betting boards along with Bulgarian. And Joe, firstly, I want to touch on this dam. I mean, she's just been so prolific. Hawam, the other horse that comes from the family, just an absolute superstar stud. Could you imagine if Hawam was in the race, we could have had 3 half brothers.
I think it would have been a world record. No doubt the blue hens, as they call it. She must just be phenomenal, you know, and 3 different stallions as well, you know, being Ideal World, Silvana, and Philanthropist. So just goes to show what a brilliant broodmare. And you also got to say well done to Volkerbos Drift and Maritzfontein for eyeing her out, for picking her out when she was still running. And I think Eric Sands had a lot to do with her going to stud as well, because he trained the mother halfway to heaven. So well done to all of them. And it's actually just nice to be part of it, to see a mare throws 3 champions, 3 Group 1 winners. And you don't hear about these stories anywhere else in the world. So yeah, we are in South Africa. Well done to everyone concerned.
That Daily News run, you were on course that day when your horse took his place, and the word was out that this horse is the horse to beat in the race. You heard it, Joe, and he put in a commendable performance, didn't he?
No doubt. I still think he's a big runner. When we got down, as I said, when we got down to Grey before the Daily News, the word was out that he had put up an unbelievable gallop, or he was putting up unbelievable gallops. I agree with Lyle. I like the way Lyle assessed this horse. He never had everything going his way in the race. You know, you've got to be lucky. He never got any luck in running. I still think he can improve. There's no doubt he could improve. I'm just a little bit concerned with the one draw with this horse, you know, because he was a little bit naughty in the pens. He never jumped well. And if that does happen in the July, you're under a lot of pressure, you know. But he's a horse. He's still a young horse. He's got the ability. I think he's a big runner as well. A bottom weight, a 3-year-old with bottom weight, you've got to be respected at any given time, please.
I'm just going to talk from a punter's perspective here, Joe. We know the trainers. We know the horse's form. We see it all clear as crystal. There's no movement around this horse because there hasn't been a jockey declared. So punters are eagerly waiting for this because, you know, you want to back the jockey as well, Joe.
There's no doubt. I think it's a little bit sad that everything's been so quiet about who is going to be riding him. Maybe there's a jockey waiting, trying to see if he's going to get to the weight of 53. But it would have been nice just to give us some indication of what is happening around this horse, because there is an anti-post bet in. The fields have been out since last week, Wednesday. And I think it's unfair to the paying public, to the punter. Give them something just to see which way they want to go, because I think he's a fancied horse myself. He's got a very good record. He's, as you said, the breeding's impeccable. Top trainer as well with Eric Sands. It'll be nice to find out as soon as possible what's happening when it comes to the jockey.
Yeah, one has to feel for Eric Sands as well. The situation that he's put in, I don't know if Warren Kennedy had a choice on which one he was going to ride, and if he chose Rainbow Bridge or he's just put on there. I just don't know what's been happening behind the scenes. But we wish Eric Sands well. He's got 2 fancied horses in the race, and we eagerly anticipate the jockey there. Okay, Hilton Golden Ducat 18-1 without a rider declared yet. Firstly, before you give the card call odds, am I right in saying very little movement around this horse because there's no jockey?
Yeah, very little movement, definitely is. And also, you've got to sort of look at the Daily News and look at Got the Green Light, which we'll get to later. You know, in our opinion, Got the Green Light beats him quite well. You know, he was running on a bit, but I think punters are looking at this and thinking, you know, he was running on. Is this going to be the right race for him? As Joe said, draw 1. He does tend to act up in the gates like a one does. You know,
if I could just touch on that, to give the punters a bit more confidence. Yes, he's drawn 1 and he can be a bit naughty, but you've got Rainbow Bridge drawn next to you, which is a great horse to follow. You've got a speed horse in Padre Pio just on his outside. So whether you're half a length slow or you jump well, you're surrounded by good horses, which is a big help.
Fantastic comment. That answers your question, Hilton.
Thanks, Lal.
That's nice.
Okay.
I think this is revenge for the twist of fate comment earlier.
Okay, give us now, Hilton. You have to look at this whole scenario, and we keep harping on it. You got this horse at 18-1 with no jockey.
Correct.
Surely you got the trainer, you got the breeder, you got the owner, no jockey. The main man, it's like Michael Schumacher not in his car, but the horse, this car wants to go around the racetrack. There's no Michael Schumacher in the car yet. So what I'm saying is that you got 18-1. Now you have to be a bit generous for the boys that said, I'm actually, for this next minute, willing to take the odds regardless of the jockey. You have to factor that in now, Hilton. So whatever price you were thinking of, do a few multiplications there on it. So 18-1 without a rider. The guy's taking a risk here with his money because he may have a jockey in mind that's not going to be sitting on the horse. So it's a gamble. He's actually going in blind. 18-1, what you offering?
Well, this is 18-1 to carry 53 kgs. If he doesn't have a rider, he's going to go into the race carrying 0 kgs.
Sure. And then he'll possibly shorten from 18-1 to favorite.
Absolutely. You know that weight always tells in the July, at least.
Okay, what's the price here?
30-1.
30-1.
Yeah.
Can we have the 30-1 for 2 minutes then? I mean, we're not going to go 30-1 for a minute, and then you're going to give 25-1. Let's give the boys 30-1 at 2 minutes. What you say?
Done. Deal.
Guys, I'm trying to help you. Wherever you're listening to it, we're trying to operate for the boys. We're trying our best. We're trying our best. So you got 2 minutes on this horse at 30-1. Golden Ducat. We're trying our best, guys. We're trying our best. Now we come to the mount of a gentleman that's on this panel, Lyle Hewitson, and he rides Shango for the Sean Terry stable. Now, Lyle, I think the floor is yours. I can give comments after yourself and Joe speak, but tell us about your mount. Tell us how he's doing, and more importantly, the draw. Are you happy with that? And just his preparation coming into the race.
Well, firstly, we'll just start off with the horse's well-being. He always seems to just turn the corner or turn up the volume a little bit more in Durban, which is one positive. His coat is outstanding. He's a beautifully big, imposing individual. And I think that sort of gives you a bit of confidence just looking at him. Mr. Terry's made no secret of the fact that he's a lazy workhorse, and it's hard to draw the confidence from his work. And I can agree with that. It is. But when you look at a horse's well-being and you tick all the boxes around the work, I think that's what's important with a horse like this. And he is ticking those boxes, which I'm happy with. His gallop at Greyville was a true gallop. They jumped strong and they finished 23 seconds, which for me is a positive gallop for a horse that's supposedly lazy too. So very happy with his preparation. He's a lovely horse. He has had those runs throughout the Triple Crown, but with the break in between, that's also helped with the timing. He can take his runs. He's tightening up well, and there's no one better to get a horse like him spot on for the big day.
Now, we're going to go, when we get to the bigger horses in the betting, that is, we're going to touch about, the way we see this race panning out. But for now, you are drawn 7. You would have had a few days when the final field came out to assess the field, see where the pace is. Any immediate plans, or the Vodacom Durban July, you can have plan A, B, C, D, but when those gates open, everything goes pear-shaped. But do you have any immediate plan on how you're going to ride him?
Well, we're going to have a lot of people listening, yeah, so I've got to keep my cards close to my chest. But I'm very, very happy with the 7 draw. I think it's ideal, and I couldn't be happier jumping from this gate. I've got some nice horses on my inside, and that should give you some indication of my planning. But yeah, I think that as long as I can sort of hold a decent spot in the race without forcing too much, I'll have a good run of the race. And you know what? He's deceiving too. I think he comes across as a one-paced horse staying on, but his finishing times are always good. He's always a horse running down late. So a true run July could be up his alley.
Okay, Joe, you can make comparisons with this horse. You faced him in the past. Of course, he just got the better of you in the Derby with your horse. But you know, looking through his form, when you look at a race like you know, the Classic, you know, he was soundly beaten by you, but he's a Dingaan's winner. Your take on him?
He's got to be a chance. I think I put it down to very similar to the route that Sean Terry went with Pomodoro. He never won the Classic. He ran fourth to Jackson in the Daily News. Came July Day, and the horse turned the corner and was perfectly prepped. And I think that this horse, once again, I'm leaning towards 3-year-olds with the 53 kilos on their back. I've got to say again, definitely got a chance. As you say, top jockey, top trainer. They can make that improvement as well. He stayed in Durban. So on that, from that point of view, yes, he's definitely got a massive, massive chance. You must remember, this was won as a 2-year-old over, or got beat a short dead or a length to Alabaga over 1900 meters as a 2-year-old. So the stamina is there. Once again, with the others are stopping, he could be unwinding and finish off the race. Definitely got a chance.
Definitely got a chance, and definitely got a chance from the jockey who rides him as well. You currently priced up. Lyle, do you follow betting much? Do you use it as a guide when you have a look at your form? Do you see where you priced up in the betting when you ride on a daily basis, or you just ignore that completely?
Look, of course, we're aware of betting coming into race, but as a form studier, in terms of a race working out, I think that can maybe cloud your judgment when you're trying to work out what you're going to do in a race. So not necessarily something I'll focus on, but you do become aware of it, yes.
The reason I bring this up is because, you know, you know where you are in the betting boards. 16 to 1 at the moment. That's the course odds. We're going to get the inflated odds. Do you think that, on your assessment and your chances, that you should be shorter in the betting or larger in the betting at around 16 to 1 if you're using that as a benchmark?
I think it's a fair assessment at this stage. You know what, he probably seems more a long straight horse, turpentine sort of racetrack. However, as we mentioned, as a 2-year-old over 19, despite running green and hanging about, he finished off strongly. So he does have to show that little bit of improvement at Greyville. But I think it's a fair assessment on what we've seen from him so far. If he does step it up, as we are hoping come big day, he could be worth a lot shorter.
Okay, he deserved his airtime. We got 2 gentlemen on the panel that know him. Joey's horses run against him. We got the rider of Shango. And congratulations, Lala. How many Julys have you now will be riding in, including this one?
I've been very fortunate to have ridden in the July since I joined the academy. So this is my 4th year. I've ridden every year since I started. And
it's obviously, you know, I know that it's Africa's premier horse racing event, but just from a way of building up from the parade ring and milling around behind those starting stalls and going into the starting stalls before they press the button. It's unlike any other race that you're riding here in South Africa. I'm almost certain of that.
Yes, of course, Deez. The hype around it is fantastic, but obviously you got to get into your own mental space and focused on it's just another race and getting that job done. But I'll tell you, one of my favorite parts of come a big day like Durban July is the vibe around track. I just remember from the days of Igugu, Mike de Kock's groom singing in the background at work, and for me that's what really gets to get that tingle on your skin, is the track work vibe, and from there it builds up into anticipation for the main one.
We'll touch on that a bit later. I want to just briefly talk about, you know, the lockdown of racing and just what it takes now to be riding at the highest level with no crowds there, etc. We'll get to that, but let's get to Shango. Do you agree with these guys? Firstly, Hilton, you got a thumbs up from Joey and a thumbs up from Lyle. Is there be any action with this horse, anti-post?
Yeah, these very similar to the sort of Golden Ducat situation. You know, after the Daily News, he was sitting around 25, 30 to 1. He got well beaten, but got the green light, went up to 50 to 1. And as soon as Lyle was declared as a jockey, obviously everybody knows that he's got a very big following in this country. And within a day or two of Lyle being declared, money started coming slowly. We've laid quite a bit of him. We've laid him sort of 33 to 1, 25, 20. even the 16 to 1. So just it's amazing how a jockey can change the whole perception of a price on a horse. And Lars done that with this one.
So
No pressure, no pressure, Lars.
Course odds, what's it, 16 to 1? What you giving the guys?
We discussed sort of 20, 22, but Lars obviously here, he's obviously got a big following. He tells us that there's people from Japan are watching, he's got people from around the world, so we're going to go 25 to 1.
25 to 1 for the followers of Shango. You got a minute for that, and then you'll get a shorter prize, but you got 1 minute, and you got it straight from a guy who's on the show tonight, likes his horse number Shango, who is one of the leading contenders in this year's Vodacom Durban July, horse number 7. Then we move along to Mike de Kock. Now, Mike has had success in this race 4 times, starting off with Epi Tombi, of course, Gray's Inn, we remember, Igugu, we remember as well, and none other than Bowl Silvano. So he knows what it takes to get a horse ready to win this race. He's got Socrates in the race. I'll start off with you, Joe. A super horse on his day and talented as well, well-traveled at that. And he's the type of horse for me, Joe, that comes in under the radar.
Well said. He's a year ago in the Champions Cup. He got beat a half, and he was still a 3-year-old, got beat a half a length to Rainbow Bridge. There's only a half a kilo difference in the weights this time around. I believe that the Cape Town trip, everything went wrong. It hit him back. It hit him quite hard. His 2 comeback runs have been promising. He improved from his first run, 5 lengths behind a warm. His next run was 3.5 lengths behind a warm. So he could be coming back to himself. What else can we say about Mark de Kock? I mean, at the end of the day, he's taken his chances over 2,200. My only concern is the 2,200. Otherwise, I would make him possibly one of the major contenders in the race. But if he stays at 2,200, definitely a runner. Top jockey as well in Callan Murray. I think he's also one of those horses that could be massive value. And I'm sure World Sports Betting will be looking after all the blokes who like Sukrat. If you like him, I can't put you off and say, no, don't back him. I've got to say he's definitely a runner in the race.
Lal, you got to know him last time out. Of course, he was no match for Hawam. But you seem to be chasing the horse in front of you, and the gap was actually not widening. If you have a look at that replay, you know, he made up the ground on you, and you just kept keeping that gap between yourself and Hawam. It was a tremendous run from him.
Yes, Socrates is a top horse. I believe he will get the trip. 2000 at Turfentine last time. Now going to the 2-2 at Greyville. I think he'll be fine with that. He obviously had a torrid time in Cape Town, came back and had time off on the farm. Had his comeback run, yes, it was disappointing. 5 lengths behind a warm. How disappointing is that? And then I rode him next time, and he had just touched 1 step better. He had improved in his work. He was coming along the right way, but Mr. de Kock assured me, yeah, he still had another notch to turn up. And I can tell you, in running, tracking Hawam, I couldn't believe I was going to get beat. I was going so well. He gives you a great feel. He's a lovely horse. And I just think he does. He's got the ability. He wasn't a 133 for nothing. So a lovely individual. I think he's going to be prep spot on for this. And then he's on to be a stallion. So it just shows what quality he is.
You've had a good feel. 2,200 meters Greyville. Any concerns with the distance, or you think that type of track with his running style suits him ideally?
I've got no issues with the distance. He's the easiest ride. He's got a great demeanor, beautiful stride. I think there's not many negatives about him.
You got a feel for him last time out, and I'm going to stick with you, because if you were riding him in this year's race, would you have been happy with the draw from what you felt last time at Turfentine?
Yes, without a doubt. I think a lovely draw for him. As I said, he's another versatile horse. We've seen him win from basically the front. We've seen him come from last. And as I mentioned earlier, it's what you want in the July, is to have that versatility, so you can play your cards depending on the situation. So Callan's been a big race jock, especially of late. And the success he's had for the de Kock team has been fantastic. And as I said just now, there's not too many negatives. I can't put you off if you're looking for something negative.
Yeah, I like the comments coming through from both Joe and Lyle about this horse. And I mentioned Under the Radar, but it's a powerful combination of MDK Racing and Callan Murray for an international owner on the world stage. Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Mike has mentioned it on numerous occasions. Really fantastic to have these colors in the country. Number 5, Socrat. Hilton, 12-1. Course odds.
Yeah, these not too much interest over the week. So to get the punters going, I think it's fair to go about 18-1.
Sorry?
18.
You just
You're not
going
happy
up
with
6
it?
points. Now that tells me something, Hilton. That tells me something. If you're willing to only go up 6 points on this horse, amongst your world sports betting team, is he a fancy amongst you guys?
No, there hasn't been too much pressure. These obviously when we sat down this evening, we sort of went through the field and what we thought we could do, and we thought maybe, obviously listening to Joey and Lyle, maybe the 132 is a little bit high in his rating at the moment. Maybe if he was sort of carrying 57, 58. Well, what price, these? What price would you like? 20?
I mean, that's fine. That's what I was looking
Right.
at, around 20-1 for the boys.
Fine, 20-1 for a minute. The boys can thank you when it's done.
20-1 for a minute, guys. 20-1 for a minute.
Hold on, these?
Socrates. Yes.
These? I've got Siobhan in my ear telling me to calm down.
I knew you'll be on the line with you. I'm almost certain that Joseph and Siobhan are busy WhatsApping each other in the background or messaging each other that don't let these take advantage of you on the show because you're messing up my book.
Right, done. 20 it is.
20-1 Socrates. Okay, and now we come on to a very important racehorse in the race. We say very important because no horse in the 123 history, this is the 124th running of the Vodacom Durban July, an historical race, a prestigious race. No horse has ever won 3 Vodacom Durban Julys. There has been few others that have won twice. Alpicha, Militia, Pamphlet, not back-to-back, but has won 2. Coricrean and Campanaggio. And of course, Do It Again adds his name to the list. I think he's a horse that deserves the airtime because he's trying to make history. And Anton Marcus, when it comes to Vodacom Durban Julys, Pierre Stradom, Anthony Delpeche, Tiger Wright, and Anton Marcus were all on 4 Vodacom Durban Julys. And Anton obviously went ahead, went clear, winning 5 when he won and Do It Again. And he's also trying to make history on a racehorse that certainly has given us some wonderful memories. And the way he's won his 2 Vodacom Durban Julys, he's a horse that everybody will be hoping that he can do it again and make it 3 in a row. It's history is against him, Joe. But as I always mention to guys, whenever they speak about stats, stats are there to be broken. Can this horse rewrite the history books, Joe Soma?
Difficult one. These top weight, also half a kilo of top weight. He's got a top jockey there. He's got the draw to overcome, but I said earlier, I'm not too worried about draws. Only thing that concerns me is he's not really in form, but in saying that, he's run 6 times at the course. He's won 4. He's been placed in the other 2 starts. So he loves Gravel. He loves the Durban season. To win 2 Julys, you're actually a champion. And no one must ever take it away from him. No one must take it away from his trainer. And for my money, I'll be the first one to be standing clapping if he does do it. It is a hard task. He's a great horse. I get a little bit upset when people turn around and say, he's not a champion of the past, or he's not a champion like other horses. To me, he's one hell of a champion. As I say, to win 2 Durban Julys and going for the 3rd one with a massive chance. Everyone else who's gone for 3 Julys really has been a 40-1 shot or a 50-1 shot when they were going for their 3rd July. They were sort of at the end of their career. This horse is still quite sprightly. He's looking very well. I was very fortunate to see him at the Gold Challenge. I felt that he looked a little bit big, and I What I did like about this horse and give him a massive chance, Anton made him work in his final gallop on Thursday morning. Ticks a lot of boxes. Top trainer, top jockey. I wouldn't be shocked if he wins, but I believe that it's going to be a very difficult task.
Difficult task. I'd love him to win. And as Joe said, wouldn't that be something to be etched in history as the only horse to win 3 Vodacom Durban Julys, and there'll be a hat-trick as well. I mean, that'll just be awesome. Lyle, you have a close relationship with most trainers, but you get to spend a lot of time with Justin Snate as well. How's the vibe being in that camp regarding this horse?
Well, obviously he's almost a pet to them now. He's such a special horse. He looks great at track. I think there's a lot of positive vibes around him. There's 2 points I want to touch on, and is that last year in the Gold Challenge, there was no horse that could catch me on Cirillo. I was going so well, and he swished past and actually won the touch cozily. And from that day, I said, this horse will win the July. And I sort of got that reminisce of that again when I saw him run the Gold Challenge this year. As Mr. Soma touched on, he looked a little bit big, but he showed that he stretched out beautifully off a slow run Gold Challenge. To finish and stretch out like he did, I thought was impressive. And then onto that gallop, Anton asked him to stretch out, and he did just that. He looked fantastic. And I think if there is a horse who's going to go against all odds and do it again, it is him. It is a tough task, but for me, it's that preparation into last year's July. I've seen that again this year.
I'm glad that you touched on the time of that Gold Challenge win by Rainbow Bridge. I say this because, you've ridden in Japan, you've ridden in Hong Kong, you've ridden, since you've started off your career. And I know when the gates open, it's decision time on what you're going to be doing. But how you guys, are sitting behind, like Warren Kennedy, just setting his fractions up front. Do you guys know that you're going that slow, but you can't do anything about it? What's the mindset with jockeys that are racing in a race that they know is not going to be suiting their horse when it comes to pace?
I think in general, most of the jockeys do know. They have to know their pace. It's one of the most important factors of being a quality jockey. But I think then the next step is having that courage and confidence to go with your gut feel, know that the pace is too slow, and step it up, and maybe go against what may look like the obvious thing and take the bull by the horns. And that's something that I feel that a lot of jockeys just it comes with confidence, is to take the bull by the horns. If you think they're going too slow, you've really got to just step it up and go with your gut feel. So yeah, I think a lot of guys do have a good understanding of pace. It's just what they do with it.
Richard Fourie, I know you often close to him in the change room, etc. Have you been picking his brain about this horse? Have you chatted to him about his mount?
No, well, Anton's riding Do It Again.
Richard doing work there, and I know you close to him in the jockey room. Have you spoken about Do It Again?
Well, look, I won't say I've approached him and said, how's Do It Again? But of course you get a feel, a sort of vibe coming from the yard. And I think it must have been a hectic decision, a very tough decision. And I think the only thing that could sort of separate from what I feel and I've heard from him is the weight difference. Because weight in July is an important thing. And I think that's the only thing that really separates them. He knows Do It Again is a brilliant horse. And once again, probably a very good team decision as well. They could get a top rider on a top weight, top light rider on the lightweight.
Yep, it's all about planning and trying to go in with the best possible ammunition to get the job done and hit the bullseye. I think that's what it's about when it comes to the Vodacom Durban July. He deserved his airtime. Hilton, you guys price up your book. You know that history is against this horse. You've got him at around 7.5 to 1. That's the course odds. Anton Marcus, 5 Julys. Justin Snate, 4 Julys. It's a lethal combination here. 7 to 1. How can you help us there?
We actually got another promo and Do It Again that we came up with.
Sure.
And the reason why we did it is that obviously following up with what Joe said. I mean, we know how good this horse is. But we've discussed that Silvano's Pride, Pedro Pio probably going to provide a pace at this race. And when Do It Again won July in 2018, I remember the pace was a mess. African Night Sky went to the front when he shouldn't have. Said a real crawl. You know, Do It Again, sprint for home. I think Made to Conquer ran second, and there was 4 or 5 lengths back to third place. And then last year as well, there was no pace. Richard read it as they came around the bend, and this horse has got a remarkable turn of foot, which is why you're so good over 1600, 1800, 2000. I think if Pedro Pio or Silvano's Pride set a strong pace, I think that might catch Do It Again out this year. So we thought, well, obviously everyone loves history in this race, in this industry. We've had quite a down year. So we're going to offer 14-1 to kick off. But from today and going forward to the race, whatever price we have on Do It Again, anybody who backs the horse will get double those odds up to 2,000 Rand. So you're going to get 2,000 Rand of Do It Again at 28-1 when we open the betting. And when we settle him at 10, 11, 12-1, if you put 200 Rand on the horse, you get 2,000 to 200, you'll actually get 4,000 Rand, 2,000 in free bets and 2,000 in cash back.
Brilliant.
Absolutely
Fantastic.
brilliant.
Now, world sports betting. I mean, that's what you expect from these guys. Trying to give back to the customer, trying to help them, because there'll be a lot of guys that will just be having, even if you're not having a full go on this horse, with that type of promotion, you'll want to have a sentimental bet to maybe, you know, take a snapshot of that ticket and keep it to say that I backed a horse that won 3 Vodacom Durban Julys, and here it is. I got the ticket to prove it as well. Wouldn't that be something? You can go down in history books as well, because he's not out of it. Believe me, there were signs at his last start of him possibly coming back to his best, and records are there to be broken, guys. Do It Again. We're giving him his airtime. You heard it from Hilton, what special they got on Do It Again, and that's a fantastic initiative from World Sports Betting. Now we move along to another snake runner called Bunker Hunt. And there are many studies out there that are tipping this horse as a possible winner. He was backed in from long odds as well. Joe, I'm going to start with you. The reason is you're a guy that, you know, you're not going to delve too much into ratings, but you're a guy that's firmly involved with ratings and, you know, going into meetings, etc., keeping in contact with the guys that make up this rating. This horse, many are saying that he didn't incur a penalty for winning the Drill Hall Stakes last time out. And for not incurring that penalty, it certainly kept his weight down to a very attractive 55 kgs, Joe.
Yeah, he seems to be well weighted. I think that the handicappers were correct in not giving him a penalty, because I felt the Drill Hall Stakes was an 8-horse field. A lot of the horses were coming, having their first run after a layoff. First run in KZN. There were sprinters, there were stayers. So, you know, sometimes you got to, we're so hard on handicappers all the time. I think all the chaps in the industry, but sometimes you got to take your hat off and say, well done. When they do something right, they don't get too many accolades anyway. So I think they did right. I think he's a horse that could improve. He's always been a horse that's had a lot of ability. He's always been highly spoken of by the Snaith stable. He had every chance the only thing that worries me, he had every chance in the Met. He finished 4 lengths behind Rainbow Bridge, but he is 5 kilos better off. So that definitely brings him into the race. If he has made any sort of improvement, he's definitely also got to be a serious contender. Got an international jockey, Grant van Niekerk, I still believe one of our better riders in the country. He proved it today. And the draw is not going to be too much of a hassle. He's a horse that likes to come from off them. The Snaith stable have been barking as well. He's doing exceptionally well. He's a very good-looking horse. He could enjoy the Natal season, the weather, whatever else. No, he's definitely a runner.
Distance, Joe. I mean, that is the big question mark. I've just got one question mark around this horse's form, and that's the distance. Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, actually, I didn't want to go down that road. That concerns me. He's been over 2,000 and beyond 3 times. Hasn't really shone. But, horses improve, horses develop, they create a little bit more stamina as they get older. If he stays, he's definitely going to be in the shake-up.
Joe has said a lot there, Lyle. Anything that you can add or anything that you feel will help the guys, wanting to have a bet on the source? Anything that you can say positive about him?
Going into Durban season last year, I galloped him at Greyville, and he put up a phenomenal gallop, beating his companions on the day in good fashion. And I thought, well, he has a promising horse for the big races coming up. And he actually disappointed in my book. And you look at it, and he's not necessarily beaten far, but it still was disappointing what I felt. And seeing him win the drill hall like that was what I felt that he had underneath him. So if he's coming to himself and being a dynasty, getting better with the age, he does have the ability. He's a temperamental horse, and I think he's going to be one of those that's going to benefit from the July behind closed doors, which could be a big factor in his performance being at its peak.
The draw on this horse, Joey's not placing too much of emphasis on the draw in this year's Vodacom Durban July. What's your take on being drawn wide, middle of the park and closer to the fence? Do you see any advantage, disadvantage, or, it's something that we just have to take it as we get it?
I think we can all admit if you get offered draw 18 or draw 5, which way you would go. But overcoming draws is an art from the jockey, firstly. It's about doing it with using the least petrol as possible. So having a top jockey on his grant, he gets horses to sleep. It could be a challenging draw, but he could end up in a perfect spot too, with pace all around. So yeah, I think you've got to overlook draws when it comes to a big race like this, and sort of ride a horse for what they're known to be good at.
Okay, some nice comments coming through there. Number 14, Bunker Hunt. Okay, how much energy going to be spent from that poor draw to try and get him in the position? Is he going to see the distance out? But barring that, he seems to be nicely weighted, as Joey alluded to, 5 kgs better off with a horse like Rainbow Bridge on his run in the Sun Met. Bunker Hunt, he's in single figures. I'm actually surprised that this horse is in single figures. Has there been a plunge on him in the betting, Hilton?
Nowadays, every July there are always 1 or 2 talking horses.
Yes.
The horse will have a good run, or he'll be drawn well, he'll be handicapped, or he'll just miss the ratings. I think obviously with the draw hall, he won that very, very well. And since then, as Joey's alluded to, didn't get a penalty. 14 draw, it's probably like Lyle said, it's not the worst thing. So there's been steady money. I must be honest, it's probably one of the most backed horses since the final field was announced. 12 to 1, 11, 10, 9, sitting at 7 to 1 now. We have laid quite a bit of it. But obviously it is what it is, and we are prepared to go 12 to 1 for this evening. And once the 12 to 1's gone, we'll bring it into 11 to 1, and then we'll settle on whatever price we see fit.
So would you say, just looking at your book, is one of the pressure horses?
Yeah, without a doubt, without a
doubt. Millions, hundreds of thousands stood to lose on him?
No, fair amount, Dees. Fair amount. Not as much as the ticket you showed us before the show, but fair amount.
Okay. Okay, that's Bunker Hunt. We are finished and done with him. And Justin Snate, another runner in the Vodacom Durban July. We've actually done 4 of Justin Snate's runners, and then we're coming towards his horse that tops the betting board. But next up, we'll go with Vardy. Adam Marcus, well done. Now, you've had a wonderful season, Adam. We congratulate you, Mississippi Burning, Vardy, 2 Group 1 winners this season. You got a nice team behind you as well. And we'll start with you, Lyle. Vardy, very talented horse, and he certainly sowed this down in Cape Town this season. And your take, firstly, on what you've seen of him, and then I just want to touch on his running style as well, if I may. But firstly, on your opinion on him as a racehorse?
Well, without a doubt, he's a top racehorse. He's proven it on numerous occasions. Craig gets on really well with him because he doesn't look the easiest. He can hang, can travel, and I think having your jockey on who knows horse well is vital. my one concern, which maybe can allow World Sports Betting to give the punters a bit more on him, is the trip. Will he get the trip well? He comes from off them, and he sprinted home well in his previous. However, does that mean that he doesn't quite stay because he can sprint well? Or is that showing that he really can turn it on and come from the back regardless of speed? So for me, I'm a little bit stuck on whether the pace will suit him or not, because obviously then it's going to make it more testing. This I'm saying, if it is a true run July. So yeah, there is a few question marks. I thought his gallop could have been a touch better, but his run before that was fantastic. And when he puts it on the day, he's a top horse.
The 2 runs that he's now had at the track, surely that should be beneficial as well, Lyle.
100%. And I think obviously he's going to be spot on for the day. I think his prep's been really nice and the way he's done it. So I think there's a lot of boxes ticked. Those little question marks, maybe that's where the value comes in with the betting.
Joe, I want to take you back to yesteryears, because the reason I want to touch on this is because, Adam is a young trainer. There are a lot of young trainers about, but it's really nice when you're first starting off your career and a horse like this finds you, just giving you that confidence that you can train a horse to compete and win at the highest level so early in your training career, Joe. That must be a confidence booster.
Yeah, you got to remember, Dees, that Adam comes from a hell of a racing family. His father being Basil, for the younger viewers out there that don't realize it, Basil was one of the greatest riders this country's ever seen. He went to Hong Kong. Him and Barty Leisha were the pioneers and being the reason why South African jockeys are allowed to race in Hong Kong, or ride in Hong Kong, I should say, and why they're so highly regarded around the world. So his uncle being Anton, so he's got the pedigree. He's done exceptionally well. What I like about the way he's prepared this horse is that he was never shy to say when he was wrong, and when something was wrong, being wrong with the horse. Never made excuses. He's got into this directly to the point and fixed it up. When he ran in the Drill Hall Stakes, I actually thought they were going to scratch him at the start. He went down shocking. When I saw him last time going down, I couldn't believe the improvement. So you could actually see it from the run. He had made vast improvement. He is a difficult horse. He's got soundness issues. And to keep a horse going the way Adam has, I must take my hat off to the youngster. I think he's got a very bright future ahead in his career. For me, the hardest part for him to win the race is going to be the 60 kilos. Can he stay the 2,200 with 60 kilos? If he had a low weight, I would say massive runner. I know there's a lot of money, there's a lot of shrewdies that are tipping body. There's a reason for it. I agree with Lyle. I wasn't overly impressed with his gallop against Twist of Fate. I thought Twist of Fate galloped slightly better, but in saying that, Adam did say that he gave Twist of Fate 3-length start in the gallop, I wouldn't be shocked if he wins. I think Lyle's also summed it up very well. Pace of the race is going to be very crucial to his chances. But in saying that, class always comes to the fore, and he's definitely one who's got a lot of class.
Really well summed up by the guys there on Vardy, both Lyle and Joey, and of course, Adam Marcus. But earlier on, I posed the question before Vardy. Adam Marcus, 2 runners in the race. They both were in the camp of Twist of Fate. But this horse is at shorter odds. Now, Hilton, you're going to have to take that into consideration, because you got this horse at 6.5 to 1 course odds. The Palin that you have invited, excluding myself, who's just hosting this, Joe Soma, Lyle Hudson, they've told you that they like Twist of Fate, where you help the guys, and they feel that you got this horse too short in the betting, Hilton.
Yeah.
You got it too short in the betting here. So how are you going to help us now, Hilton? Because you call these guys on, they give their opinion, you have to assess it. We have to play it like we're playing a live show. I know you've written down there, I'm going to stretch to a certain number. Deez is not going to able to make me go higher than that. He's never going to do it on the live show. But we want it now. We want it now because there are guys out there that are saying, you know what? I heard the concerns from Lyle. I heard the concerns from Joe, but my mind's made up. I'm on this horse. And I've tuned into the show for my 2 minutes, or my 1 minute first, and then my other minute on this horse. So you're going to have to help us here. 6.5 to 1 Vardy. How are you going to help us?
These, we all do our homework before the show. And I think all three of us, Lyle, myself, and Joe, all have our doubts when it comes to the 2200 available. I mean, it's not an easy 2200. We've seen milers, 1800 horses come into
Stop
July,
right there. Stop right there, Hilton.
fancied.
Stop right there, Hilton. You're giving us the negative, but he's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the top. You should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 from the bottom, the way you're talking, Hilton.
Yeah, let me get there, Deez. Let me get there. I think the punters will be happy once I've finished. So I think at the beginning of any time, if anybody said a VAR is going to be challenging for the Met and the July 2 years ago, we'd all laugh. So how Adam has got this horse to even stay 16, 1800. I mean, VAR is a sprint as well. He went into the Queen's Plate, he won that. He started the Met as a strong favourite, didn't quite see it out. I think the Gold Challenge, when they dropped him out in the last run, I think Niall, you'll agree with me, was just to sort of see how he would do. He sort of ran on, which he did. But Rainbow Bridgeton set a strong pace, so we still don't know where we are with him. So putting that into consideration, obviously, as you said, 6.5 to 1. These, we were going to go 10, 12. We'll go 14 for you. 14, please.
Sure.
Boys, I'm doing my best here. 14 to 1.
Now that he's locked that in, I think we can tell the viewers that Mr. Soma and I, we said twist of fate just so they can get more of a stretch on body. So punters.
Cute, Lyle. I love it, Lyle. Well done there.
You see how Deez, you see how jockeys think, eh? Well done, Lyle.
Well done. 14 to 1, boys, for a full 2 minutes.
Got to help the guys out.
2 minutes.
Well done.
Yeah, you're helping the
Well
guys
done,
out.
Lyle.
Thanks, Lyle. Well done there. 14 to 1 on Vardy. If you're on Vardy, 14 to 1. Okay, now we come to the top 3 in this year's Vodacom Durban July. And before we touch on the top 3, some housekeeping, Hilton. Firstly, I mentioned the 100% match in free bets up to 20,000 Rand. A wonderful initiative by you guys.
Yeah, these we do it once a year. There's a 10,000 all first deposits. Every time you do a first deposit with us, you get 10,000 Rand. But obviously, because it's this time of the year, it's 20,000 Rand. Whatever you deposit up to 20,000 Rand, we will match in free bet vouchers.
Give us a few other specials on the day. Can you repeat that? Do it again special as well, Hilton, if you may.
Yeah, these, it's not just for tonight. It's basically until the race jumps. Whatever price you get to do it again, we will double that price up to 2,000 Rand of the horse. So if you put 300 Rand on the horse and you take 3,300, we'll give you an extra 2,000 Rand at 20 to 1.
Anything exciting? I know you'll have so many match race bets and trainer bets, etc., but it's all on your website.
It's all on the website. These we've got 4 place options this year, 3 places, 4, 5, and 6. We've got the match plays, as you said. We've got the winning trainer. As we alluded to when you were off air, we've got a couple of jockey doubles, which we spoke about now. Basically, we just got a whole range. You just need to go onto our website, click on exotics, and we've got 30, 40 different specials.
Okay, there have been a lot of guys waiting for these top 3 horses. They've been listening in patiently. I trust that you guys have been entertained thus far and more importantly, informed by both Joe and Lyle and, of course, Hilton as well. The next horse, I've just been given a note here by our very own Rhino who put this whole thing together. He's the marketing fundi when it comes to world sports betting. And he says, Deez, I got a high roller that plays with us. His name is Adrian Shanmugam. And he's been waiting patiently for this one. Which one? I said. He said, this one got the green light. So boys, why Rhino has given me this is because you're going to get a minute of this horse at whatever price. But the guys in the background are waiting to. That's all they're going to be doing. They're going to be pressing that button. They've deposited their funds and they're waiting for this horse. Now we're coming through to Got the Green Lights. And I think, Joey, we'll leave you second. We'll start with Lyle on this individual. Lyle, as we know, he's a champion, 2-year-old and Equus champion. He's now a 3-time winning Group 1 horse, having won twice this season, the Classic and the Daily News. 2 very important races for any horse's career, especially if he's still a colt. You followed him from a distance when you were racing in Hong Kong and, of course, Japan. He's a horse that you've also, kept a close eye on. What's your take on this horse? Is he one of the better 3-year-olds in the country?
Yes, he's top class. I kept an eye on him from day one when he was winning at the Vaal, when he progressed through and he won the mile on Gold Cup Day as a 2-year-old. He won Equus Champion 2-year-old. And then he was always a horse that was in the back of my mind and watched his career progress. So firstly, hats off to Mr. Soma. He got a shrewd buy and the horse has paid him back kindly. He's kept this horse in perfect condition to achieve what he has. And for such lovely owners like Mr. Chinsamy Adams and Mr. Soma himself, I think that he's a top horse. And there's no denying that. He doesn't even have a distance. He can win over any trip, which is what makes him truly special as well. And yeah, he's a lovely individual. And I think that World Sports Betting should just give a stretch on him just because Mr. Soma is on the show.
Thanks, Lyle.
Of the 3-year-olds, Lyle, I mentioned that there is some comparisons with regards to races up in Joburg and here in KZN. But at this stage of the game, would you say that with these 2 Group 1 wins, he is automatically going to be the leading 3-year-old come the end of the season, which is now the end of August?
Well, it's most proven at this stage. And I think that's a fair comment to say. He's put it down and he's done it. And he would have to be.
Okay, Joe, I've had a front row seat with this horse's career, and I thank Darlin Chinsamy for that. I've mentioned it on air many times, so this is not news to anybody managing his horses. He's one of your bigger patrons in your stable, Joe, and you've had a beautiful, sound, professional working relationship with Darlin and myself, and of course, Hassan Adams as well is a big supporter of yours. And from day one, I want to tell the listeners and the viewers that are watching in, from day one, and I'm not just saying this because of what this horse has achieved thus far. It's not just because it's happened, but from day one, Joe Soma, who's had good horses, great horses go through his hands. When we went over to Turfentine one morning, and I think he hasn't raced yet, Joe, you said that, guys, of all your horses that you got, all your babies, I think this horse, if we just do what we have to do with him, you earmarked him as a horse that could be competing at the top level. He didn't surprise you from day one, Joe.
Thanks, Deez, and thanks, Lyle, for the kind words. Really appreciate it. Just first and foremost, just want to say I'm enjoying this July. This is what we've lived for. This is what our passion in horse racing is for. It's the pinnacle of horse racing in South Africa to win a July, but just to be a contender is what I'm enjoying. Exactly what you said, Deez, from day one, from the day we put a saddle on his back, he just showed me something very, very special. In saying that, he hasn't surprised me. Whatever he's done, this is what I've expected of him. He keeps improving. That's what fascinates me most about him. Every time I think we come into to the top of his ability, he just does something, gives a gallop, or he'll win like he won the Daily News. I'll say to myself, gee, that was impressive, Lyle alluded did say that he's won over all distances except 1,000. He's won a 12, he's won a 14, he's won a 16, he won the 1800 Classic, and he won the 2000 Daily News. Takes a good horse to do that. So he's definitely got to be a massive runner. Touch wood, everything's gone well. I'm not too concerned if we sitting 3 lengths, 4 lengths off them, or if he's sitting 8, 9 lengths off them. His turn of acceleration could be his forte, could be his positive, and we expected a massive run. The horse is ability-wise got a top jockey in Muzieni, and I cannot give anyone enough confidence. I know it's a July. I know people are saying small yard. So what? Doesn't matter if you're a small yard or a big yard. If you know what you're doing, you're going to do the same things that you do in a big yard, you know. So if it's our time, good luck. We're obviously going to embrace it. If it isn't and things go wrong, well, we'll hopefully live to live another day. But for my money, it's not an easy race. But if you fancy him, I can only tell you that you'll get a big run for your money, please God.
Joe, you've said so much there, and really, modest as well, I must add, when you talk about small yards. But I've had many conversations with you, especially about buying horses, etc. But you've always had that philosophy that you're not big on numbers, but you're big on trying to purchase quality and trying to keep a certain number that you're comfortable with, Joe. And that's been throughout your training career.
Yeah, from day one, we've never had support, really. At one stage in my life, there was a bit of support from Mayfair speculators, which we proved ourselves. But I've never been one to run around and beg people to buy me horses. So I just go about my business in my own little way. We go to sales, we do our work there, we look at as many horses as possible. I followed racing from, I think, when I was in my mother's womb. So that's a plus as well. So I could just do what we have to do. We know what a good horse is all about, but not blowing my own trumpet. One thing I do know is that when I get a good horse, I can honestly say and say it loudly that we tend to look after them and try and place them in the right races and give them the best ability. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the horse. That's the main thing.
Just to tell the viewers out there, the vibe, you briefly touched on the vibe that you're going to live it, believe it, and enjoy it. But I want to touch on this because you have some wonderful socials with Darlington. Of course, Mr. Adams is in Cape Town, but that vibe now, how's that vibe behind the scenes, Joe?
Now, I'll tell you one thing, Deez, that no one actually has mentioned in the press or anything else. I didn't know it until you and Dylan mentioned it to me last week, that if Got the Green Light wins the July, it will be the first time Indian owners have won the July. And I've got to mention that without the Indian population in South Africa, I don't think horse racing exists. I know it certainly wouldn't have existed in Natal, in KwaZulu-Natal. So that is something that would be a fantastic honor to be part of that and to be the trainer to win July for the first Indian owners in this country, because the Indian nation thoroughly would deserve that, considering what they've given to horse racing over the last century, if you want to call it that.
Please, I'm not going to imply anything by what I'm going to say next, but with this COVID and everything about, that's the headlines around the world, but there's been a certain headline as well that we become used to, Joe, and that's Black Lives Matter. So good luck to Muzieni that you're giving him the chance.
Yeah, correct. It is what it is. It's a very touchy subject. My take on it is all lives matter, but we do understand what they've also gone, what the black people have gone through. But I think that going forward is a prayer of mine would be that we respect and love each other and respect each other. And I think we'd all be in a better place if we could do that.
That's a topic for a different day, Joe. I just wanted to throw that in because you gave Muzi the chance without hesitation. And the guys have given, Lyle, just give me, this is 5, okay, Lyle? When it comes to Got the Green Light, this is obviously 4, but let's see how many fingers and a thumb you'll put up out of 5. Lyle first. 5. Joe. 5. Hilton, we're not going to ask you. We're only going to ask you for a price here because you got Mr. Joe Soma on the show. He's taken up his valuable time. I told you he had a heavy schedule this evening, but he said, no, You guys, I was here on Friday, technical issues, but I'll make sure I'll be here on Sunday. He's got a runner in this year's Vodacom Durban July. We congratulate you, Joe, on that and wish you all the best. What's the source now?
Can I add one thing?
Yes, go for it, La.
And I hope this can stretch the price for the punters.
Yes.
Got the Green Light had the perfect trip for the Daily News, which definitely helped him to win so convincingly. So you should give the boys a bit more because it's not going to be perfect all the time.
Ah.
Wow, look at this. Look at
Well
this.
said, Lal. I've got to be honest there, Lal. It's, and he's got the 13 draw. All of a sudden, the 13 draw.
Mr. Soma, I'm stretching this one for you.
I know you are, my brother. Thank you.
You know, before the show, Joe and I had a quick chat with Air. We priced up on the July before the nominations in February, and before the Classic, and when got the Green Light one, and we actually priced up this horse at 66-1 in February. And on the 7th of March, when he won the Classic, no, you guys all climbed in. And on the 7th of March, he won the Classic, and by the Monday after that, he was into 16-1. And I said to you earlier when we spoke about Bunk Hunt, I said there's always these talking horses. This has probably been the biggest pressure we've seen for a horse in a long time. You know, and it's quite strange. Obviously, you know, you'd have these controversial horses, and I think that's what's just garnered a whole lot of interest. And obviously, Joey, you know, it doesn't matter with a small stone. You've seen what Pete Steyn did with K-Tac in Cape Town. We saw what you did in the special preview. I remember when I started in the industry, in the special preview in 1995. One of the first horses that I followed. So I just think sometimes the smaller stables have more time to look after their horses, and they bring them through the divisions. And I think the public have seen this, and obviously they know how good he is. He's won from 1,200 to 2,000, and I think this is just the next step in his career. Saying that, you guys are I'm trying to put myself under pressure.
Do you know this gentleman called Adrian Shanmugam?
Yes, I do.
Very well aware.
You know him, Joe?
I know him well. He used to be his owner in my yard, a decent punter, good man, and he was a good settler.
Is it?
Good settler.
He was a good settler.
Yeah,
okay, and
knows the
Hilton
game.
knows him. I don't know him because he seems to be getting a lot of airtime, and the reason being is that Rhino said you have to mention this. So I think he is privé when it comes to punting. Privé, separate table, private table, and everything.
Good. I'm glad to hear.
Those blocks in the privé where you don't walk in with money or anything. You just get those blocks. I think that's what he is in World Sports Betting, because he's waiting to fire. I know there's a number of guys that phoned me in and they're wanting to know what price would we get on. I said, I don't know. I can't give you the odds, guys. If you missed the vote on the 16-1 is Hilton, I don't know what you're going to get, but we're going to leave this to Hilton. And Hilton, please, Hilton, be generous. The guys have been waiting for the top three horses. A lot of guys have tuned into this broadcast. They've listened in and they've been waiting to have their money on for 1 minute. But maybe you can give us 2 minutes. Could you give us 2 minutes on this horse at the inflated price firstly before you call out the odds?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. I've got Shawan in my ear now. We decided on the price. He's just come through to me. You'll be happy to know he's actually going to offer us a higher price than we were going to discuss. So you can thank Shawan.
Okay, I'm going to do the countdown and you're going to give the price because we got a timer here in the studio as well. Got the green light for the 2020 Vodacom Durban July, trading at 6-1 for 2 minutes on World Sports Betting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, Hilton.
9-1 for 2 minutes, please.
9-1. I'm disappointed.
Look at that price. Look at
9-1. Anyway, it's what you get, guys. We tried. There's pressure on the horse. I think these guys are in it on one horse in the race, whilst others are backing other horses. But I think they're in it on this one horse. You mentioned 66-1. They've laid some off. So you got 2 minutes. 2 minutes at 9-1. Have a go, guys, if you like this horse. Got the green light. Thanks to Joe for his comments on his run. And we wish him well. Thanks to Lyle for his comments as well on that horse. And you got a stretch. You got a stretch of 3 points, which you're not going to be getting anywhere else. He's 6-1. That's the course odds. Now we come to the top two in the betting. One is called Rainbow Bridge. The other is Bulgarian. There wasn't much that separated them in the betting, but Hilton has said, we'll go with Rainbow Bridge, whose course odds is 4-1, and then 3.75 on Bulgarian. But before we touch on these two horses, Lyle, I mentioned that we're going to speak about a few other things when it comes to the race. Lyle, you've got to assess the race. You've had a few, days now with the race card. From draw 1 to draw 18, horses on your outside, inside, where the pace will be. How do you see the race running? We always try and talk about pace of the Vodacom Durban July. Is it going to be a true run race? Is it going to be slow pace up front? It's hard to anticipate, but how do you see this year's Vodacom Durban July unfolding?
I think we're going to have a true July, which is what everyone wants to see. I do believe that Padre Pio and Sylvanas Pride are genuine front runners, and they can both take it up. So that'll make it a good even tempo. If one tries to slow it down, the other one will keep it honest. And I think that's what we want to see the best horse come through. And we got the good horses drawn inside and outside, which then allows us to have good horses in the middle, just behind the pace, and from the back. So regardless of where they're running from in the day, we're going to have a good spread of top horses run at an even tempo. And I believe it's going to be a fair July, and the best horse or best weighted horse will win.
Lyle, I'm going to stop you there. The time's up. The 2 minutes up. The one guy that just SMS me says, can I have a minute extra, please? On Got the Green Light. Hilton.
Done, please.
Sorry?
Yes, you may.
Done. Another minute.
Done.
Another minute. You got it. Who's the guy?
Well done, Dees.
Oh, it's Adrian Shanmugum again. Oh, God. He wants another minute on the horse, so go for it and get on. Got the green light. You got another minute there. Well assessed there, Lyle. We hear what you're saying, Joe. You would have had a look at the field as well. In your take of just an opinion, it's never going to work out the way you anticipated. Want those gates open, but how do you see this year's Vodacom Durban July panning out when the starter says, "Away we go"?
I think Lyle summed it up perfectly, Dees. I think there'll be an even tempo throughout the race, is what we would all like. As long, you don't want to go slow in a race like that, 18 horses where they crawl and there's check-in and racing wide and, whatever else, and hard luck excuses after the race, whatever it may be. The top trainers have got companions in the race. I know they want to win their 4th or 5th July, and I'm talking about the Snake Stable. They hold the key. But in saying that, there's also Adam Marcus with Vardy, who would want it, an Evo tempo as well. He's got Twist of Fate. So exactly what Lyle said is what I'm hoping for. A nice, good, even tempo that gives everyone a chance, and may the best horse or best weighted horse, I like what he said, the best weighted horses, come out and we all have a good run, and may the best horse or best weighted horse win.
Fantastic. Lyle, just a quick one for you. I've been asked this question, hundreds of times on the July and the jump and positioning of horses, etc. I've got an opinion, but I always come back to the first 400 meters in the Vodacom Durban July could be equated to the final 400 meters. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, it is fair. In fact, it's probably one of the most, for me, what I felt, one of the most aggressive first 400 or first 2 furlongs of a race throughout our country, because obviously positioning is so vital. And as we've alluded to this year, because it's a handicap as well, some people who maybe don't necessarily always have their horses placed handy but have a low mass might want to try something new and get on forward. So yeah, I think that first 400 is I mean, you could probably clock it, and it is just as quick as the final 400 in terms of people wanting to get a position. It's very important. It's where you can win and lose a race, and that's why.
Okay, now we're coming to the top 2 in this year's Vodacom Durban July, and stepping into the ring in the corner of red and white is Rainbow Bridge. Eric Sands trains. Warren Kennedy, the champion jockey-elect, rides. This horse is owned by the Rattray as well, and they've been staunch supporters of South African racing and breeding as well for a number of years. These red and white silks have become familiar with horse racing throughout the country for a number of years, and they got Rainbow Bridge in the race. Rainbow Bridge has pulled a great stallgate number, stallgate number 2. He carries 60 kgs, joint top weight in the race. He's the son of Ideal World, bred by Wilgerbos Drift and Mercefontein, and he is one of the leading contenders. We've given him his introduction, Joe. He's a solid horse. He doesn't know how to run a bad race. Throughout his career, he's performed distinctly at the highest level.
He's a super horse, absolute champion. To own and train a horse like this must be just an absolute pleasure and an honor. He gives his heart and soul in every race. He can go to the front. He had quirks as a young horse. I must take my hat off to Mr. Sands once again. He's got out of those quirks. He's settled better and better as he's got older. He loves the course. I thought he was game in defeat last year's July. He was game in defeat in the Met, but definitely massive, massive runner. Top jockey on as well. Also dying to win a July. Newly elected champion Warren Kennedy. There's not much else I can really say. Obviously, a horse that's done it. A lot of the other horses still have to do what he's done. Warren do it again, but definitely a massive runner and will no doubt be concerned in the finish.
Lyle, anything you can add to that? He's got to draw 2 as well, and just the way he races, he can pretty much race however Warren finds him.
Yes, I'm only positives on this individual. Firstly, he's quite a gross, strong horse. He'll carry the weight. Warren Kennedy's having the season of his life and riding with utter confidence. That's a plus. He's got a great draw. He can easily be behind the pace, maybe a little bit further back, wherever he wants. Versatility, I touch on again. He's running the July. He's got impeccable form, impeccable consistency, and I can't sing his praises more in terms of what a good individual he is. Of course, as we mentioned, the July is one of the best handicapped horse, but if you're consistently good too, it's a big plus. And as Mr. Soma alluded to, he had some behavioral issues early on. Mr. Sands has worked incredibly hard and sorted that out. But just to add a little bit of fuel to that fire, and what makes him spark more, no crowds, is just more of a plus. So yeah, he's a perfect individual. He's doing really well. Preparation's been great, and yeah, I think he's a lovely horse. I think we'd all love to ride him.
Of all the horses in the field, Lyle, he possibly represents the most consistent, solid form, and they are going to be massive pools on the day. And one of the pools that I want to touch on just briefly is that quartet pool, which is going to get to a sizable amount. He's the type of horse that could be guaranteed, if not winning it, finishing in the top 4.
Yeah, well, he's finished in the money in all his starts, and he's competed against the best of the best consistently. So I agree with you with that comment. I think he's just the pure image of consistency.
Joe, I must come back to you, and Lyle, you can think about this as well. Is he the right odds in your book, Joe? If you have like doing a book on the Vodacom Durban line, I gave you a page and I said, please price up this field for me. Would you have him shorter than 4-1 or larger than 4-1?
No, he's the right price. He's if you're looking at it, the negative is the 60 kilos. If you want to look at negatives, and that's the only negative I can find, is that he's got top weight. For me, horse racing is all about weight. He'll start shorter. There's no doubt in my mind. Day of the race, I predict that he'll end up in around 28 to 10, 3 to 1, somewhere around 5 to 2, between 5 to 2, 3 to 1. That's my prediction time of race. Lyle once again mentioned that to his benefit as well is there's no crowd, and maybe that's why he was so well behaved in the Gold Challenge. The other negative I've got about him is that the last race, everything, you've got to ignore that Gold Challenge completely, considering the time they ran the 1600 meters in. 98 seconds is very slow. But he still did it. He still won. If I'm training the horse or I own the horse, I'm going to be impressed with that run. But I like to see the horse have a hard race before, a month before a big race like this. Yeah, I think he just got it a little bit too easy, and there's no ways he's going to get it that easy on Saturday from the time the gates open. But he's a super horse, and once again, if you're going to get beaten, he wins it, or do it again, wins it. As I say, I'll be the first one to be standing there clapping them in. He deserves it if he does win it. There's no doubt.
Lyle, coming back to you, you had some time to think about, when I mentioned the odds, is he a deserved second favorite in the race?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he was priced up as favorite, to be honest. So I think they're lovely odds for him.
Okay, Hilton, you heard it from the guys. Do you have an opinion on this horse? Can you tell us a bit about the action behind the scenes with World Sports Betting with this horse?
Yeah, there's been a bit of interest these. But as Lyle and Joey said, he's the right price. So let's move on to Bulgarian.
Mr. Soma did point out two negatives. They might be small negatives, but I think they're worth a point or two.
All right. Okay. So 1 point for one negative, 1 point for the other negative, 2 points.
And then because we're giving the punters a stretch, one more point.
Half a point for the stretch. 6.5 to 1. Lyle, you're
a big price, sir.
Yeah.
Joey says this was going to shorten short.
It's a big price.
The race time 3 to 1, 6.5 to 1, Joe.
6.5 to 1.
The fastest minute.
Yeah, it's a big price.
6.5 to 1. Can we do that at 2 minutes as well?
No way.
Yeah, thank you, Lyle's. Listen to Lyle. These. Listen to your plan.
Can we? I mean, these. Listen to me, Hilton. You have to. I don't know if you think like a punter. The guy has been sitting there the entire time listening to Joe, Lyle, you, and myself.
And you.
And myself. I included myself there. He's been sitting through and he's been listening to. He wasn't interested in whatever we said prior to this about any other horse. He had his heart and his money waiting to fire this horse. And now he's come there and he says, 6.5 to 1. I'm only going to get a minute. And I've been speaking about high rollers in world sport. What chance does he have for 1 minute? We haven't started the timer yet. Let's just do it for 2 minutes.
Time is already over, Deez. As soon as you mentioned the price, time is gone. So you've
No. We haven't started the timer yet. We haven't started the timer yet. We're waiting with the timer in the studio. Can we go for 2 minutes, 6.5 to 1?
1.5 minutes, you got to deal with these. 1.5
minutes. You have to bargain. 1.5 minutes, 6.5 to 1. Thank you, Hilton. Thank you for the guys who've been waiting patiently for Rainbow Bridge. Thank you, Hilton. And now we come to the ruling favorite of this year's Vodacom Durban July, one of 5 runners from the mighty stable of Justin Snate, who has won 4 Vodacom Durban Julys. And when you have a look at this horse and the way they've prepped him, it's been a plan that many say has been executed to perfection. We didn't see him as a 2-year-old. As a 3-year-old, he flopped badly in the Derby down in Cape Town. Rested, gelded. He's come back as a 4-year-old and remains unbeaten. It's all about trying to get your horse in with the ideal weights coming into the Vodacom Durban July. That's trying to take care of his rating, qualifying him for the race. And one would think when you look at this horse's profile and what we've seen of him as a 4-year-old, you could say it's a plan come together for the Fosters, for Justin Snate, and of course, Richard Fourie, who would have had a choice of all 5 runners, but he's gone for this horse. I looked at him down in Cape Town when he won those 2 races, of course, the Peninsula being one of them and the Settlers. I was on course. And it just was a horse that you could have earmarked as a horse that we're going to follow when he comes down for a champion season. Due to the enforced COVID lockdown of racing, Justin had to make do with what he could with this horse, and he's just given him the one run, which was the World Sports Betting. Yes, it was the World Sports Betting 1900. They sponsored that race as well, and that day was partnered by Anton Marcus with an effortless win, with a facile win. I think Anton was actually playing with the field that day. He found himself in the pocket, which could be difficult. He had to switch him out, and when he pressed the button, that was it. This horse won going away. Many are questioning, what did he beat that day? Who was behind him? It's not that type of quality that he's taking on. But needless to say, that he's a horse that just seems to be raising his game at the right time to the next level. He's been the supported horse to favorite in this year's Vodacom Durban July. I've given him the introduction that he deserves. And we'll begin with you, Joe. Bulgarian, point one. Is he the right horse at top of betting boards?
In my opinion, definitely. If Got the Green Light wasn't running in the July, this is the horse that I would be backing. I believe that he's my biggest danger. He's a 4-year-old with 53 kilos. It's been well documented that he's been looked after throughout his career for this race. Justin knows about how to prepare these horses. Got to come in at the right weight. He's got the top jockey on in Richard Ferree. There's no doubt that I know they talk about what weight the horses had, team efforts, but you want to win a July. And I think Richard would have had a choice of rides between Do It Again or Bulgarian. Very, very impressive his last start. Very impressive. And I think he'll come on leaps and bounds with that run under his belt as well. For me, my biggest danger, and I think that the bottom weight will win the July, 53 or down, 53, 52. But at 4 years old, he's strong. He's a good striding horse, good looking horse. Everything points to him having to be a very, very, very big contender in Saturday's race.
Joe, I must get your take on this, because this is the yearly debate that punters have, trainers have, whoever's in horse racing have, younger horses versus the older horses. The goalpost has been moved, the yardstick has been changed with this year, and we're talking about a month difference from when the race is usually being run to a month later. Is it a huge difference in the camp being more advantageous for the younger horses?
No doubt. There is a weight for weight scale. There's a reason for that scale that's been in use for over 200 years. You must remember 6 days or 5 days later, the 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds, they don't get that kilo advantage that they get in here. But for me, I always, throughout my years as a punter, and I'm talking now as a punter, I've always believed back a young horse with low weight against an older horse with top weight. And that's been one of the first rules that you learn as a form studier or a punter. And that's why I believe that Bulgarian and Got the Green Light are my two choices in the July. I think they'll fight it out. The Rainbow Bridge will obviously give his all and Do It Again, but there's 7 kilos that they've got to give. And for me, 7 kilos amongst top horses definitely comes into play. There's no doubt it's got a tail in the last 100, 150 meters.
Joe, I'm glad you touched on how you learn to punt, because one of the first things you actually taught me, and I'm sure you'll remember this, but I'm going to just refresh your mind. The one day you asked me, you said, Dees, how do you study a race card? And I said, now you look at the merit ratings and you look at the form and the 400 to finish and jockey strikes, etc. And you told me, no, you study the last race first, because that's when you need it most.
Well, we were taught that if you walk off the race course, back in the last race winner, you'll come back the following race meeting. If you back the first race winner and you lose on the day, don't remember those things. So your mind's fresh. So study the last race first, because when you walk off the race course a winner, the wife is happy, the children are happy, and the bank manager's happy. The bookmaker's not happy. That's the only thing that's not happy, you know. So keep that in mind as a punter. But honestly, I think it's going to be a fantastic race. But I just want to say that I've summed up the race like this. You're either going to go for the top weights with 60 kilos, who are the class horses, by the way. I'm not disregarding that. Rainbow Bridge is a champion. Do It Again is a champion. Bardi is a champion. But they got the 60 kilos. Bulgarian got the green light. Padra Piers, Shangos, up-and-coming horses. They still can improve. They're still improving at this stage of their career. At 53 kilos and the 7 kilos that they're getting from the older horses, fresh legs, fresher horses, new in the camp, I've got to say that those are the horses that will fight it out. That's how I've summed up the race.
Well summed up from you, Joe. And he said a lot there, Lyle, but you could have a different perspective on this. But on this horse's prep, the way the stable have brought him along, the way they got him into the race, Joe mentioned 4-year-old, 53 kgs. There's lots of positive. Joe didn't touch so much on the draw because he also mentioned earlier on he's not concentrating so much on the draw. Is the draw negative now when they did the barrier positions at the final field announcement?
Well, look, it's got to in some way be a negative. You would rather take a closer draw towards the inside, use a little bit less petrol. But Richard Fourie is a top jockey. He's on a top horse who's, as we mentioned earlier, the best weighted horse to win the July, and he could be that horse. So I think when you look at his positives, the amount of positives there are, it far outweighs the 1 or 2 small negatives. And we keep touching on the fact that the July is won by the best prepped, best weighted horse. And I think he's one that ticks those 2 boxes.
Joe and Lyle, think about this. I'm going to ask this question because, you know, I'm just trying to make a stronger case for other horses. This horse, what has he beaten, Joe, compared to what he's facing today? This is, no doubt, the stiffest task that he's got to date. We understand the prep with the low weight, the 4-year-old, how he's won it after his gelding, unbeaten. The positives are there. But Joe, I just want to try and make a case for the other horses in the race that are wanting to beat him. What has he beaten, Joe? Yeah, this is the best of the best in the country now.
These, you know, people use that as to convince themselves if they want to be to back the horse or not to back the horse. If you go back to last year's July, and this is why I'm saying the bottom line is the bottom weights will win the July this year. If you go back to last year's July and to the Met of this year, the horses in the July last year, the field looks now very, very weak. The 4th horse, Eyes Wide Shut, hasn't won a race. 5th horse was Moyobi Gold. It was the only horse that's come out and won 2 races in the year amongst their own sex. Camperatus was right there. Divine Odyssey won a race a year later. He won 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So in saying that, go look at the form of the July last year. It wasn't a strong race. Look at the form of the Met this year. It turns out it's not a strong race. Doesn't mean that Rainbow Bridge is not a champion. Do It Again is not a champion. It doesn't. So what are we saying now? That Bulgarian he only can beat who you've met. That's all you can do. It's the same as a boxer. You can only beat the person who he's fighting against. Not matter who he beat and when when he comes up against the best. That's what horse racing and boxing is all about. When you're amongst champions, the champion will come out. So for me, Bulgarian he could be an up-and-coming champion. Got the green light, could be the champion over the next year, the next 18 months. Have the old horses had their time? That's up to you as a punter to make up your mind. I'm just giving the debate out there. Have they had their time or not? That's up to you to do. Are there new stars that are going to come to the fore? That's up to you to decide as well. So for me, don't worry about who he beat. Worry about how he's beaten them and what kind of specimen he is. That's my take.
Lyle, are you agreeing with Joe with everything? You've seen horses that just progress through the divisions. You've felt them, you've been them, you've actually partnered them in your career as well. Some of them can just escalate at a level that is actually surprising, but it's also expected with other horses from what you know of them back home. Does this horse fit that mold that he's just climbing up the ladder within himself and just on pure ability after the gelding?
Yes, 100%. And I think it's actually been a benefit to him, the fact that he's taken it one step at a time, because with that, he's just built up more confidence, got stronger, and comes into this primed. So yeah, 100%. And one thing I can mention is that when Richard talks about it, there's definitely a sparkle in his eye and a little bit of a sweet tune coming from his voice. So I think he's looking forward to it.
Okay, we got the thumbs up from both our guys, Joe Soma, Lyle Hewitson. They both make him a leading contender, the right horse at the top of betting boards. Now we go to you, Mr. Hilton Hassan, who's tried to help us for the day, but you haven't helped us enough. I'll tell you why, Hilton. Every one of these horses I've scratched out now. It is the lucky last. And you know, as a fixed odds betting operator, there are many guys out there that wouldn't even have a look at all these colors on my form book. They look at the betting and they want the favorite. And there are a lot of guys that are wanting to come for this favorite hard and fast. Unbeaten as a 4-year-old. Coming with the perfect weight for a 4-year-old. He's got Richard Furry. He's got Justin Snape. This horse has ticked all the boxes for the guys. They've waited the entire show, Hilton. I want to ask you two things before you give us the price. How much has been traded on this horse compared to the balance of the field? And is there pressure?
There wasn't pressure before the 1900. He was hovering around the 8-1, 10-1, 12-1 mark. As you know, the conditions of the 1900 meant that no matter how far he won, he was only going to get a £6 penalty. So he went up from 113 to 119. I think, as Lyle said, best handicapped horse is the one that's the one to beat. In our opinion, he's probably a 122, 123. That's my opinion of the ratings. So he's probably carrying a kilogram or two less. On the disadvantage side is that no horse has won the 1900 and the July double since Bolt Sorbano in 2010. So a lot of people look at this horse, this race, as a good marker, but it doesn't always necessarily work out to a winning July combination. So that's something that already needs to be taken into account.
Okay, you've given us from the betting operator's point of view, what do you think? I've never seen a price like this before. How do you guys come up with a price? 3.75.
It's a millennials price, Steve.
7.775.
Generation X, 7-2, 4-1. Millennials, 15-4. Makes them feel better.
Okay, so we got 3.75. 3.75 on the horse. What are you going to give the guys that haven't taken a bet yet on any other horse? I know some guys like backing 2 or 3 horses in the Vodacom Durban July, but they haven't taken a bet yet. They've got their funds deposited. Some of them are on the phone, other of them are on their devices. They're waiting to press. Here we go. 3.75. Hilton Hassan, you are the guy that's going to make these guys happy this evening. What price?
These, considering everybody's had to wait, I think it's fair that we sort of spoke about 5-1, but I think maybe 11-2 is probably about the right price.
Before we start this, don't start this now, Hilton. No timer here. We were not starting this. I want to ask Joe. Joe, close to 4-1, 11-2 now.
Geez, I'm a fair man. Absolutely a gentleman on their behalf. 11-2, a massive price alongside the Rainbow Bridges price. Can't get better than that. They'll start favorite. Listen to me. There'll be 5-2, 28-10 on Saturday. Those two horses. There's no doubt. They'll end up 20 in the 2. Got the green light will end up 7-2. 15-4 new prices. That's how they'll end up on sale.
Lyle, is that fair from them, Lyle? Is that fair from them?
Very fair. I think a great deal. And who knows, they might even get a minute 30 on that as well.
Oh, this guy.
What are you saying about that, Hilton? Lyle's asking for a suggestion.
Lyle, different class,
Yeah, he is different class. 100%. Lyle got it.
1:30, 1 minute 30.
1:30.
1 minute 30. Okay, start the timer, Graham. 1 minute 30. Okay, guys, I'm not going to put you on the spot, as I mentioned to you the other day, for your 1, 2, 3, 4. You've touched on the entire field. I'd rather you just give me 4 horses and maybe an outsider, Joe, and 4 horses, Lyle, and maybe an outsider. And then Hilton, maybe you're going to give me the bookmaker's pick, if that's what you want to call it. But before we touch on that, guys, while you think about it, I had to talk about this, Lyle, and I mentioned I am going to bring this up on the show. It's a different Vodacom Durban July this year, like never before. We have had the race move for a month. That was during the FIFA World Cup when South Africa staged a fantastic World Cup. It was the end of July. We had it move, but we had the race. This race has gone through 2 world wars. It's gone through everything, and the race has never, ever been canned. And to the sponsor, Vodacom, along with the operator in the Province Gold Circle, they've made a plan to have racing after lockdown. They've made a plan to have what is, no doubt, one of the events of the year when it comes to sport, coupled with entertainment and great horse racing. It is a showstopper on the scene, the entertainment scene here in Durban. People make the annual pilgrimage from all over the country. Some come from parts of the world. I've met international people that attend the Vodacom Durban July, but that's sadly not going to be this year, Joe and Lyle. And as a jockey, firstly, Lyle, it's obviously a dampener, a saddener. 50,000 people is usually what you guys see at the track, the vibe and everything that goes with it. That's all going to be missing this year. Does it take away the gloss, Lyle?
Look, there is obviously it's a downside to this whole situation, but we're still sitting on quality thoroughbreds, going for one of the most popular races, or if not the most popular race in South Africa, which will still go down on our CVs. We all want to win it just as much, and that feeling won't change. Whether there's a crowd or not, that feeling inside won't change. So yes, maybe there's a little bit of a smudge, but that gloss is, for me, is still there for sure.
I can assure you, Lyle, that whilst we're not going to have those 50,000 odd people there, it's actually a massive gap in the market for television coverage of this race. And SuperSport has got it on from 1 to 4, and they're going to be doing their best to cover every angle of this year's race. And I'm going to be privileged enough to be working alongside Neil Andrews with that as well, and with Teletrack. This is a big gap to try and make it a wonderful thing to view for everybody that's, I'm certain, is going to be watching at home.
Yeah, sure. And we saw Royal Ascot was on SuperSport, and I was glued to that. I felt like I was there, and it was a huge success. So it shows that SuperSport can do it, and can make it interesting to everyone, and maybe even a bit more accessible to a larger audience. So I think it's fantastic. I think people can look forward to a fantastic day. It's really exciting. And from my side, I've been in contact with World Horse Racing, which is a social media platform that broadcasts racing all over. And I'm trying to document as much of the build-up as I can, which they have been sharing around the world. So we might even have a bigger international audience.
That's brilliant, Lyle, that you got involved in promoting the event as well. So well done with that. Joe, your take on what we've been discussing about this being a race behind closed doors, the greatest race on the African continent, the pinnacle for any breeder, trainer, owner, jockey, or groom, and even you, the punter, to have a punt and back the winner in the race. What's your take on it being behind closed doors this year, Joe, and the fact that you got a runner as well?
I must compliment Lyle for what he's trying to do for horse racing. Yeah, he did touch on Royal Ascot, and I was reading in the Daily Mail that when Royal Ascot was being televised, they reached the highest audience. The audience was the highest since horse racing was televised from the beginning of whenever it was, 1960s. 3 weeks later, they had the Epsom Derby. It's also the same situation, broke the record of how many viewers they had on Royal Ascot. So it's a new world. It's a new way we're doing things. I only hope that the coverage of our horse of the day, of the Vodacom Durban July Day, is as brilliant as what the rest of the world are putting out there. We also need to raise our game. We need to create this vibe throughout the day. The youngsters need to get involved. There's a lot of people that are having July parties that I know of, especially around my children, my family, Darlington, Sammy. I mean, not only them, but a lot of youngsters are going to have the time of their life.
This is going to be happening around the country, Joe. This is
around the world, basically.
Around the world.
Yeah, around the world. As you said, there's Hong Kong. There's a lot of South African interest in Hong Kong. So I do plead with, I know that Supersport are going to be champion. That I do know. But I do pray that Teletrack just come to the party and actually do what they're supposed to be doing and create a vibe that will create this interest that the youngsters will be involved in horse racing going forward. And hopefully we can turn a disadvantage into an advantage. So that's, I believe, will end up being the story of the day.
Beautiful, beautiful put from both. Hilton, you on a different situation altogether, because you guys started off, as I mentioned, as an online fixed odds betting market back in 2002. You've increased your footprint to 15 stores around the country. That has been impacted in a significant way. But the online side of it, have you seen the effect there, or nothing has changed?
Oh, most definitely it is. Like Joe said, I think the way we look at life, the way we do things has changed forever. And I would say probably 40–50% of our retail trade is now going through the website. You know, people want to have a bet. They couldn't go to our stores. I mean, we've noticed our stores have opened and the people are slowly starting to come back, but online is where it is. And our site is growing from strength to strength. You know, obviously our footprint is going from strength to strength. So yeah, it's changed the way we do things. Definitely.
Okay, guys. Joe, you've added a few minutes to soak in when I posed that question to you. Your top four, and then Lyle will go with your top four in the race. In no particular order, Joe. Just your top four in the race with one outsider. Joe Soma.
I say, got the green light to fight it out with Bulgarian. Rainbow Beach for third. And my best outsider in the race between Terra del Fuego and Padre Pia.
Okay, Joe, you were too fast for me there because I got the book in front of me. I never looked at it the entire show, but you got the green light to beat Bulgarian. That is going to be 13 to beat 13 and 17, not to beat in any order. 13, 17, which
I'd say that got the green light and Bulgarian to fight it out. That's 13 and 17 to fight it out.
Yes.
2 Rainbow Bridge to run third.
2.
And for fourth, I believe Padre Pia, number 3, or number 11, Tierra del Fuego.
Okay. And do you have an outsider, Joe? I know those are outside horses. Could you give us a big horse at a big price?
I thought maybe if you're looking for the first 6, I thought maybe Divine Odyssey could be a massive price at, I think it was 50 to 1 or 75 to 1.
Okay, 13, 17, 2, 3, 11, and 10. Lyle, your take on your top 4 and maybe an outsider?
Well, I've looked to find a balance here, and I think that 2 top weights and 2 bottom weights to throw into the mix. So for me, it's your 2 top weights are Do It Again and Rainbow Bridge, and your bottom weights is Bulgarian and Got the Green Light. And then I got to give myself a pat on the back and say Shango's going to try weave his way in somewhere there. So he's my little bit of an outsider to try sneak into the money.
18 to 17, 13, and horse number 7. Hilton, what can you tell us? What do you like?
Please, I can tell you that the impact of having Joe and Lal on the show. This is no joke that Shango was by far the most backed horse during the card pool, by far. Followed by Got the Green Light, and then quite a distance to Rainbow Bridge and then Vardy. So
what are you saying? What are you saying? Are you saying, Hilton, that these guys have spent their time coming on the show without remuneration? You're actually thinking about paying them?
Well, it all depends if Shango got the green light wins,
Is it? Okay. If they win. We got this recorded. If they win. Okay, how long have we been going for here, Rhino? I just want to know. Graham, Rhino, can you give me how long have we been going for? We're going for 2 hours, 44 minutes, and the time has flown by. I'll tell you why, because I didn't feel it at all. Obviously, I'm working. I don't know if there's some guy on the other side has fallen off to sleep. I don't know if there's guys on the other side that said this was too long-winded, but personally, being involved in the show, it was valuable information from you, Joe. Valuable information from you, Lyle. Hilton, we thank you for your stretch odds. But before we close, Lyle, you got a lot of horses on the day, a lot of rides on the day. For the guys that are Hewitson fans, which could be your best?
Carolina.
Anything else for the double?
Well, Waterford's betting's got the special onto Golden Bell, so I'll do my best to make that work. I think a roughie, maybe it's not a roughie, but ecstatic green take on the Colts in the 2-year-old 14 could be anything. And big roughie, someone to include. I say Tilbury Fort will run a good race.
Thanks for that, Lyle. Joe, have you found anything?
Tilbury Fort.
Thanks, Lyle. These, I say, all good things must come to an end.
Yes.
Seeing that this is not such a good thing, let's carry on.
Joe,
I'm going to tip very simple. You study the last race first, and then you study the first race next. And that's what I've done. First race, you have a good bet on the Terry Stable, Chimichurri Run.
Yes.
You got money to play the whole day, and you wait for the last race, and you have a good bet on the state-trained Crown Towers.
Thanks, Joe. Hilton, anything that you like on the day? You had a look at the card?
Just following up on what Joey said, if they do take that double, it works out to 30 to 1. So that's not a bad price at all.
What's the double?
What price are you giving us?
Chimichurri and Crown Towers, 30 to 1, Joe.
Thanks, Hilton.
30 to 1.
How much more do you want?
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Nice. I think that
Thanks
was
so much, Hilton.
I think that was a nice way to put a little in it. Lyle Hewitson, thank you for your time, young man. All the best on the big day, Vodacom, Durban, July Day. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to talk with you guys and hopefully inspire the public. And I know that I'll be doing my best to fill the pockets of my followers.
Joe, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dees. Just to World Sports Betting, thank you very, very much for having us on the show. It's been an absolute privilege to be alongside Lyle, yourself and Hilton. And I hope you have a great July. Enjoy and stay safe.
Thank you, Hilton.
Thank you, Dees. I know it took 48 hours to finally get you, but I hope the faithful punters were happy with the prices we offered. Thanks to Joe.
Okay, that is a wrap of the 2020 World Sports Betting panel discussion and card call. May you back the right horse in the race, and all the best for this year's 2020 Vodacom Durban July. We out.